Hey everyone. Welcome back to Naruto Audio Fanfics 2.0. Today's fanfic is, what if Naruto and Tayuya had secretly been in love for 3 years, before anyone found out? Part 1. A story full of action, emotions, secrets, and unexpected twists that will change Naruto's destiny forever. If you enjoy Naruto fanfics, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Now sit back, relax, and let's begin the story. Naruto Uzumaki with 2 swords strapped to his back. He has a sword that which looks like Hayate Gecko's. His second sword is an Okaten. The hilt is blue with red flower patterns. The now new Chunin Shikamaru Nara, Neji Hyuga, Kiba Inuzuka, and Choji Akamichi are huddle up after getting their first S-rank mission to rescue Sasuke Uchiha from going to Orochimaru. So the Chunin and Genin are setting a plan. After finding about Orochimaru's ninjas are same ninjas that have caused the death of the Sandaime Hokage Hiruzen Sarutobi, they each knew this wasn't going to be easy mission, even Naruto, the somewhat dense Naruto Uzumaki. Not just are we going up against Orochimaru's elite ninjas, but we have to take in account of Sasuke Uchiha fighting back. Naruto-san, didn't Sakura say Sasuke-san left the village when he was promised power? Asked Shikamaru looking at the blonde Jinchuriki. Naruto nods his head. Yeah, she did. She thinks Sasuke Tem left due to his curse mark, but unlike her, I know Sasuke Tem, he left willingly. Sasuke Tem has always craved power. He mostly left Konoha believing the village was no use to him. Said Naruto. He remembers all the times Sasuke would act arrogantly believing he's the strongest. He remembers all the time Sasuke would try to put him down. It would have worked, but since at a young age he was taken care and trained by Genma and Heite, because of them Naruto started reading and training at a young age. The 2 shinobi drill in his head that politics and knowledge are very important to become a great leader. When Naruto was reading, he found Hanzo of the Salamander and Tobirama Senju. He found each men interesting. He started to mold himself to be a great ninja. So, Sasuke Uchiha didn't actually get taken away but left of his own choosing. Man, what a drag, troublesome Uchiha, said Shikamaru. Each of them nod their heads agreeing with the Nara Chunin, but sadly he don't have any information on the enemy, so we're basically going in blind, hissed Shikamaru. The young genius didn't like how they knew nothing of their enemies, plus Shikamaru didn't doubt if they were able to defeat Orochimaru's elite, the Snake Sanin would most likely send someone else as backup. Alright guys, let's go, ordered Shikamaru. They each nod their head heading towards the enemy, but unknown to both Sasuke rescue team and Sound 4 another plan was set in motion by none other than Naruto Uzumaki and Tayuya. Naruto then thinks back when talking to Sakura in front of the village. He then narrows his eyes at the teammate he believed to be weak. He didn't hate her, he just didn't like her reason for being a ninja. Flashback. Naruto Uzumaki is standing in front of a crying in distress Sakura Haruno while Naruto has a passive and small frown on his face looking at his pink-haired friend. Naruto, please bring Sasuke-kun back to me. I wasn't able to get Sasuke to stay BB, but I know you're the only one that can bring Sasuke-kun back. Yelled a crying Sakura, bawling her eyes out at the man she loved left the village joining Orochimaru. So, please, on a promise of a lifetime, please bring Sasuke-kun back to me. Cried out Sakura. She then stares at Naruto waiting his answer. After 3 minutes of silence, Naruto breaks the ice. Naruto eyes turn icy blue. No, said Naruto. This left her shocked. She believed Naruto would agree with her promise since he always takes his promise seriously. But why? I thought you were my and Sasuke-kun's friend, yelled Sakura. Naruto with his still passive face just stares at her. Sakura, you really don't know what my true ninja way. My true ninja way is to protect what the village, no matter the cause. Tell me, Sakura-san, why did you become a ninja? Asked Naruto. Sakura couldn't believe what she was hearing. She thought Naruto saw her as his friend and she honestly didn't understand him at all. I wanted Sasuke-kun to like me and be close to him, yelled Sakura with conviction, but all Naruto wasn't surprised, he was honestly disappointed. Naruto then glares at Sakura. She then backs away at him, glaring at her. You're an idiot, Sakura, stated Naruto without a care in the world. WH what? Stuttered Sakura. You said the reason you wanted to be kunoichi is to impress Sasuke Tem, right? Asked Naruto with the hint of disappointment in his voice. She nods her head. Naruto just shake his head. You're a disgrace of a kunoichi, said Naruto, leaving everyone around him shocked. Sakura was even more shocked. What? Said a shocked Sakura. You say you became a kunoichi to impress Sasuke Tem, you're a disgrace as a kunoichi. Let me ask you something, how long do you train? Asked Naruto. Sakura then mumbles something. What was that? Asked Naruto, wanting to know what she said. I said I don't train. Yelled a crying Sakura. Thought so. Thought Naruto. Sakura, during your fight with Ino was so pathetic I thought I was going to fall asleep, said Naruto staring at Sakura behind him. The Sasuke rescue team is shocked at his coldness, but Shikamaru noticed Naruto's tone wasn't laced with cruelty. This caused Sakura to get angry. Why you being so cruel, Naru Baka? Yelled Sakura, glaring at Naruto. Naruto doesn't back away. He knew what he was saying was cruel, but it needed to be done. Sakura-san, I'm not trying to be mean, I'm trying to get you to open your eyes. At the Chunin exam the only strong kunoichi were Tenten, Hinata, Temari, and Kin, while both you and Ino were at low genin level. Now listen Sakura, I will bring Sasuke Tem back, but not for you, but to be judged as a possible traitor. If I must I will kill him, but I will only do this as a last resort, said Naruto. This left Sakura shocked. At first she thought Naruto was being mean and cold-hearted, but he was trying to help to become a strong kunoichi. But unknown to everyone, his mind wasn't on the Uchiha but on something entirely different. This would be the last day the people of Konoha would ever see the blonde Uzumaki. As Naruto walks away, he then thinks about his other lesson he was taught by Genma. Discreet is the most powerful tool of a ninja, thought Naruto. He then closes his eyes, concentration on what will transpire. Flashback end. As the Sasuke rescue team travel through the forest, each of the shinobi of Konoha know this going to be on tough fight and be the test of their true limits. As Behind looks around with his Byakugan, he sees the chakra of 4 individuals carrying a large box. Neji then focus on the box. He quickly notices inside the box is their target, Sasuke Uchiha. Neji then narrows his lavender eyes. I've found them, they're just ahead of his, stated Neji. Kiba then looks at Shikamaru. So, Shikamaru, we're just going in with no plan? Asked the canine shinobi. Shikamaru sighs loudly. It's troublesome, Kiba-san, but no, we know nothing about the enemy or what they're capable. We're going in blind, said Shikamaru in a lazy tone. Everyone nods their head. Right, let's go guys, and remember, don't let your guard down, said Shikamaru. Everyone nods their head as Naruto and the time finally caught up with sound. For the pro ninjas glare at the Sasuke rescue team. Sakin then smirks at the Konoha ninjas. Well, if it isn't the Konoha trash, leave now and we don't kill you, threatened the leader of the Sound 4. Kiba clicks his tongue, while Shikamaru, Naruto, Choji, and Neji just glare at them heatedly but unnoticed by everyone. Naruto glare isn't as heatedly. Everyone Naruto eyes soften as he lays his eyes on Tayuya. He then thinks back on the day after the invasion. Flashback. At the funeral, everyone is grieving over the people who died in the invasion, but they were each grieving over the loves won. But most of the shinobi were mourning the now deceased Sandaime. While everyone was crying, the blonde Naruto is standing next to his former sensei Genma and Hayate, now former girlfriend Yuago. Naruto was close to Hiruzen, seeing him as a great man, but he saw Hayate as a surrogate brother and someone he trusted. He stopped seeing Hiruzen as a grandfather when he found out who his parents were, and he wasn't helping him with his shinobi skills. He had found out he's son of the Yondaime Hokage Minato Namikaze Kushina Uzumaki and a member of the Uzumaki clan. He even saw Genma has a surrogated older brother. He then noticed Genma and Yuago walking in front of the young boy. Naruto looks up at the two with fresh tears in his eyes. He then notices Genma has Hayate katana. WHWH, what is it, Genma-Nisan? Asked a still crying Naruto. Genma then puts his hand on his shoulder, causing Naruto to look up at Genma with his teary eyes. I know it hurts, Naruto, you can pull through this, I know you can, said Genma, smiling at his former student. Naruto nods his head viscously in an understanding tone, but the genin heart still ache in pain at the lose of his surrogated brother, sensei, and the Hokage. They might have spread apart, but he was still saddened at the death of Hiruzen. Also, Hayate Koi wanted to give you this, said Yuago as she hands Naruto his katana. As Naruto reaches for his sensei's katana, he couldn't help but to tear up more. Hayate sensei wanted me to have his katana? Asked a speechless Naruto. Both Junin nod their heads. He said he wanted to give you his sword after the Chunin exam. Hayate was impressed with you. Naruto-kun, he believed you were ready and finished your kenjutsu technique. Hayate believed you completed his kenjutsu style as a show of completing your kenjutsu training. He wanted to give you his sword as a sign of respect, said Genma, who's proud of the young Uzumaki. Naruto nods his head with tears in his eyes, but not in sadness but in joy, joy at his sensei actually being proud in him. I'll make Hayate sensei and you proud of me, yelled a confident Naruto with his voice laced with conviction. Genma then places his hand on his head, smirking down at his student. You've already made me proud, kid. I was really impressed with your fight with both Kiba and Neji, said a smirking Genma, but his voice laced with proud. He saw Naruto as a great student and someone who took everything he and Hayate taught him like a sponge. After the feeler moment, they each stood in silence, paying respect to their friends and loved ones. After the funeral is over, Genma leaves, heading toward a bar to drink his sorrows away, while Yugao heads back to her and Hayate home. As they left, the only one still at the funeral is Naruto Uzumaki, student of Genma and Hayate. Naruto is seen gripping his now new sword. His eyes are now bloodshot red from the crying. You can come out now, said Naruto, not even turning his head around to see who it is. After some time training with his chakra, he found out he can sense the emotions of people, which came in handy. This ability especially came in handy when him and Team 7 faced off against Orochimaru in the Forest of Death. As he patiently waits for the person to speak, but Naruto already knows who it is since Naruto took that person to meet him here. As Naruto waits for the person to talk, he then feels two slender arms wrapped around Naruto. He then feels someone rubs her cheek against his, causing him to put in pleasure. I missed you, Foxy-kun, said a girl in a feminine-like tone, but the time she used caused him to have a shiver down his spine. I missed you to Red-chan, said Naruto. He then relaxes as the female rubs her cheek against his. She stops rubbing her face against his. She then pulls closer towards Naruto with her lips inches away from his whiskered cheeks. As she brings her lips to Naruto's chiseled whiskered jaws as she kisses Naruto's cheek blush pink. Naruto then turns his head around, looking at the girl around his age. The girl has long red hair reaching her back. The girl has brown eyes. This girl is Tayuya of the Sound, Naruto's girlfriend who he'd known for over 3 years. Tayuya growls at Naruto. He raises his eyebrow at his girlfriend. She suddenly blushed crimson. Tayuya reaches her hands out, grasping Naruto's cheeks as she stares at Naruto intensity. Naruto stares back with same effect. Both blonde and redhead start breathe heavily. With each of them breathing heavily, both Konoha and two ninja can feel each other's hot breath hitting their face. Both of their cheeks turn atomic red while having their eyes laced with nothing but love, desire, and want with one of another. I missed you, Naruto-kun, breathed out Tayuya as she stares at in her boyfriend's deep blue eyes, feeling as if she stared too long she'll be sucked in. She then moves her hands up to his blonde spiky hair. She slowly lowers her arms, wrapping them around his neck. Naruto caresses her soft both checks. He then lowers his arms, wrapping them around her waist. I miss you to Tayuya-chan, said Naruto. The two then bring their faces closer to one another until both lips are touching, finally kissing each other. This they had was tender, loving, and most of all full with desire. The kiss they share was also passionate, so passionate it would make you feel like you can see their love for of the other. As they continue their kissing, Tayuya decides to bring up another notch. She then starts to lick Naruto's lip for access as he allows her tongue access entering his mouth. Naruto, the child of prophecy, and Tayuya of the North Gate battle for dominance. The two then feel the need of air. They regretful separate from each other, only leaving a trail salvia. As they finish their makeout session, Tayuya leans her head again Naruto neck at the wonderful makeout. Well, you sure missed me, Tayuya-chan, breathed out Naruto. Tayuya grins at Naruto, but with her head being buried in his neck he's unable to see her grin. Shut the up, Naruto-kun. I haven't seen you in 5 goddamn months, said Tayuya. She then looks at Naruto, now having a sly grin appear on her blushing face. And like you didn't like it, Orange Fox, Orangekitsune-kun, said Tayuya in a teasing tone. Naruto nods his head, not bothered by her cursing since he's used to it. He's actually happy she stopped calling him shithead. True, I do. I love everyone moment. Being with you and being by your side makes me feel like luckiest man in the world. Song Princess, Ulta Ojo-chan, said Naruto as he kisses her nose, causes Tayuya to let out a soft laugh. After minutes of silence, the two just stood together, enjoying being in each other's presence. Tayuya then decides to be the first one to talk. So, Naruto-kun thought of a way for both us to leave Konoha and Orochimaru without being hunted every mother day, said Tayuya. Even though the two have been going out for 3 eyes, they knew it was only a matter of time when someone finds out two ninjas from enemy villages find their own ninja is dating their enemy. The only people who knew Naruto is dating is the now deceased Hayate, Genma, and Yuago. As for Tayuya, she didn't tell anyone from her village since she knew she couldn't trust any of them with this information, and not telling Orochimaru about it, just thinking of her snake master pisses her off. Naruto then allows a sly grin, looking like a fox who has its prey sighted and know it's going to eat good. Actually, I've found a time and space jutsu created by Tobirama Senju, said Naruto. Tayuya raises her eyebrow. What's it gonna do, send us somewhere else around the world? Asked Tayuya. Naruto shakes his head no. Tayuya honestly wasn't so sure about this jutsu. No, the jutsu doesn't send us to another location, it sends us to another world, another alternate world, said Naruto. He then enjoys seeing his redhead girlfriend's shock face, leaving gapping like a fish out of water. So if we use this jutsu, wouldn't someone else be able to use this jutsu? Asked Tayuya. She didn't doubt Naruto, she just didn't want leaf or sound ninjas chasing after them. She then notices Naruto starts to grin, but she couldn't wonder why. Are you gonna tell me? Silent, yelled Tayuya as she quickly wanted an answer. Naruto chuckles at her. He well knows of her hot temper attitude and sometimes her impatience. No, they won't be able to go after us because going to this world is one-way trip. You can't enter the same world, and the jutsu would just enable any from using the jutsu to get there. So, if we get there, we don't have to worry about the leaf or sound. Tayuya-chan, said Naruto. This caused a grin to appear on her face. And if they did found us missing, those bitches would just think we died and someone burned our bodies, said Tayuya with a full-blown grin. Naruto matches her grin with his own, nodding his head. You're a genius, you that babe. But I was wondering, what is this jutsu called? Asked Tayuya. If Naruto was grinning, he was now having a shit-eating grin appear on his face, showing off his fangs, making the young ninja look like an actual fox. The jutsu is called Thunder Emperor's Ascendance of New Space, Adarashi Supsu no Sanda Kote no Yusei, said Naruto. He then drops his grinning face, but the jutsu requires a lot of chakra. Luckily, I have enough chakra to actually perform the jutsu, but we both have to do the right hand signs. If he missed even slightly, he'll be killed by the jutsu. Tayuya-chan, do you still want to perform the jutsu? Asked Naruto, wanting to know if she truly wants to go through with the jutsu. After a minute of silence, Tayuya thinks over the choices and the pros and cons of actually doing this. I'd rather die than being a slave to that snake pedophile, Naruto-kun. Besides, if we do die, at least we're gonna die together, Foxy-kun. Besides, we aren't going to die, Blondie, we're going to leave this shithole, said Tayuya, smirking. Naruto matches her smirk. Ahaha, you're right, I'd rather die with my beautiful girlfriend than anyone else, and you're right, Tayuya-chan, we are leaving this world, said a smirking Naruto, cupping her cheek. This action caused the redhead to blush crimson. Naruto would always mention how beautiful and pretty she is, but it still causes the redhead to blush. Flashback end. Naruto closes his eyes. He then pulls out his katanas, glaring at Sakin. Kiba growls at the two-headed ninja. Just as Shikamaru was going to have his team take the now captured Sound 4, but before they can do it, Sakin's twin brother Ukin is up in a tree glaring at the Nara. We won't be that easy to defeat, leaf scum, hissed Ukin. The white-haired twin launches himself off the tree as he comes at Shikamaru with amazing speed, his fist back punching Shikamaru on the back of the head, causing Shikamaru to fall. Doing this caused the heir of Nara clan to break his concentration of his shadow possession jutsu. When this happened, it caused the leaf ninjas to be shocked, but if you look at Naruto, you would see his eyes narrowing, so that's Sakin and Ukin Keke Genkai able to split themselves apart. Kidomaru smirks sinisterly at the Konoha ninjas. Did you tree huggers really think it would be that easy? Grinned Kidomaru. Jirobo steps in front of the Konoha team. He then actuates his Doden Kekai, Doro Domu Earth Release Barrier, Earth Prison of Magnificent Nothingness. The jutsu traps the leaf ninjas inside a self-repairing dome of earth, which is almost instantaneously able to reform, allowing Jirobo to absorb the chakra of anyone trapped inside. Jirobo turns to his team. Go, I'll hold them back, Orochimaru-sama needs his body, said Jirobo. They each nod their head, leaving the overweight ninja to handle the leaf ninjas. Inside the cave, Kiba had used his passing fang and Choji his huge human boulder. But just as Kiba got ready for his fang over fang, Neji quickly puts his hand on the brash canine shinobi. Kiba gets angry at Neji stopping from trying to break through the Earth Dome. What Neji-san, we gotta break this stupid thing, yelled Kiba. Neji just sighs at the idiot. What you're doing isn't working, this dome is able to absorb chakra, so you're basically wasting your chakra. We need a plan, stated Neji. They each nod their heads. I have an idea, said Naruto. Everyone then looks at Naruto awaiting his plan. He then sighs. Since the dome will absorb our chakra based, we need to get through it without using chakra, but what I'm about to do you aren't going to like it, said Naruto. Shikamaru then sighs. Well, we don't have enough time to come up with another plan, so, Naruto, do what you need to do, ordered Shikamaru, and what he said was true. Naruto just smirks. He then looks back at his teammates. You might want to step back. They did what he said, backing up against the wall. Naruto smirks. He goes through the hand size of boar, snake, ox, and bear. He then claps his hands out of his sleeves. 2 sealing papers come out. Great Uzumaki sealing technique. Apollo's morning star horse go Uzumaki Fuinjutsu. Aporomanangusuda no Uma, said Naruto. Everyone watches at the 2 exploding tags glow so bright it's blind them, almost feeling like they are staring at the sun itself. Naruto then throws the 2 sealing papers. What happened left them shocked. As he threw them, a huge explosion of yellow light brighten up, forcing them to block the light from blinding them. When they uncover their eyes, they are free from their prison. Choji, you take him while we go ahead, ordered Naruto. Choji nods his head. You can count on me, yelled Choji, charging at Jirobo. Time skip. Everyone knows how it went down. Naruto stands next with Shikamaru as both of them facing off against Tayuya. Naruto gets into his fighting stance while Shikamaru gets ready for his next plan of action. You ready, Naruto? asked Shikamaru, getting ready to double team the redhead. Naruto nods his head, smirking. Hell yeah, said Naruto, but before they can do anything against Naruto turns towards Shikamaru. Naruto, what is it? said Shikamaru, but he doesn't say anything. He quickly pulls out his chain scythe. Naruto swings it around, cutting Shikamaru across the chest. Before Shikamaru can react to why Naruto attack him, Naruto placed a sealing papers on his chest. WWWHY NN Naruto, asked Shikamaru as he groans. Naruto then sighs, running his hand through his blonde hair. That seal on your chest is a chakra draining seal. Shikamaru, I'm sorry, but if I tell you what I'm about to do, you wouldn't let me do it. I just want you to know I'm glad we're friends and I'm free from the village. But just as Shikamaru could ask what he's talking about, Shikamaru is passed out from his chakra being drained. Naruto then looks towards the huge crate containing the last Uchiha. Tayuya nods her head, taking unstrapping the crate from her back, setting it down. And now to make sure Sasuke-tem doesn't cause a problem, said Naruto. He then throws 7 explosive tags. Both Naruto and Tayuya watched as the crate blows up with flaming woods and body parts flying around. So ends the Uchiha clan, smirked Tayuya. She then glances back at Naruto. So did you booty trap this place? asked Tayuya. Naruto nods his head. Yeah, when I blew up the Earth Dome, I had 30 shadow clones to set the explosion tags all over this place, making it seem we died under the trees and unable to retrieve, but it won't matter. By the time Shikamaru awakes, we'll be long gone, stated Naruto. Tayuya nods her head and scoffing at the leaf ninjas. Naruto then seals his chain scythe. Alright, let's get this shit started, said Naruto. He then goes through the hand signs of ox, bird, boar, bear, snake, dog, ox, and tiger. He then claps his hand together. Tayuya moves over to Naruto, placing her hand on his shoulder. Thunder Emperor's Ascendance of New Space, Adarashi Supsu no Sanda Kote no Yusei, said Naruto. He then releases a large amount of chakra. Tayuya adds her own to help the blonde Uzumaki. As the jutsu activates, both Redhead and Naruto are covered in blinding blue eclectic chakra. Both Naruto and Tayuya grits their teeth in frustration at releasing a large amount of chakra. Naruto then starts pouring in some of Kyuubi's chakra. Naruto's hair becomes wilder, his nails becomes claws, his canine-like fangs start to grow becoming fangs, his traditional whiskers start darken, and Naruto blue eyes transform into red fox eyes. Naruto then starts gain a red bubbling chakra cloak. One tail appears. Tayuya looks at her boyfriend. She couldn't help but to blush at seeing her now boyfriend. She then quickly gets out of her own world, focusing on the task at hand. Tayuya then activates her curse mark. As she activates her level 1, it spread across her entire body in straight lines, spreading out in a jagged, zigzag pattern. She quickly goes into her level 2 form. Her skin became a dark shade of brown. gains yellow eye irises with dark black eye sclerae, and 2 black vertical markings appears under her eyes. Tayuya's hair become longer, growing to her thighs, and several horns appears on the top of her head, which grow when she exerts herself. Naruto then looks towards his girlfriend, having similar thoughts as Tayuya when she saw her boyfriend enter his Kyuubi mode. He then shakes his head, focusing on the task at hand. We're almost done, Tayuya-chan, said Naruto. She nods her head, but suddenly Kimamaru appears. Naruto accepted seeing this man since Tayuya told him about Orochimaru's loyal subordinate. As Kimamaru looks around, he noticed the dead body parts of Sasuke Uchiha. This caused Kimamaru to get angry, glaring at Naruto and Tayuya with his eyes full with hate. So you betrayed Orochimaru-sama, I'll kill you, Tayuya and the Kyuubi Jinchuriki, said Kimamaru. He then pulls out a bone sword from his shoulder. He then charges at the two, but two start to glow brighter. Tayuya smirks at Kimamaru. She then flips him. You bitch, that faggot Orochi pedo, and Orochimaru's toy, believe it, yelled Tayuya. Both Naruto and Tayuya glow in a blinding the light then collapse, releasing a powerful discharge of chakra and lightning. But just as the jutsu went off, everywhere in the forest explosions could be heard, injuring and killing both enemy and ally alike, and unfortunately Kimamaru was right in front of the chakra blast, obliterating him into a bloody corpse. As this was happening, an unconscious Naruto and Tayuya were flying through a wormhole. The jutsu worked, it had absorbed their chakra, but in doing so the jutsu absorbed both their chakra, including Kyuubi and the curse mark. The jutsu had fully absorbed the cursed mark. It had also absorbed both of their chakra, but not enough to kill them, but enough for them to live. As this was happening, Kyuubi no Kistun was experiencing total hell because he's a being of chakra. The Thunder Emperor's ascendance of new space, Adarashi Supsu no Sanda Kote no Yusei, is absorbing every single chakra from the Biju, leaving it permanently dead. No number, this can't be happening, I am, said Kyuubi as B starts to fade away. On this day Naruto was no longer a Jinchuriki and Tayuya wasn't a subordinate of Orochimaru. As they enter the wormhole, Naruto gets sent to a traditional-looking house, but Naruto isn't 12 years old. Body the jutsu also de-aged the two of them, leaving infants. Suddenly the now infant Naruto is crying. Two grown adults around the age 22, they head to see what was the commotion, and to their surprise they see an infant blonde baby wrapped around in orange clothes. The baby is crying at the cold of night. What you think we should do? Asked the woman. Well, my dear, I say we take in. Pause the man. He then picks up the baby and handed the baby to TGE woman. He then stops crying at being hugged by the woman. She smiles seeing the snuggle up to her. As this was happening, the man found a name tag on the orange track suit having the name Naruto. The man then smiles. How about Naruto? Said the man. Naruto then starts to giggle and dialogue hands. Naruto it is, said the man. With Tayuya. Just as Naruto was transported to house, so was Tayuya. The now infant Tayuya was in front of a large 2-story dark blue house. At the sound of hearing, a man and woman around the age of 24 years old came out with Remington shotguns. But when they went outside, they noticed the crying was coming from a redhead infant. Both gave each other a knowing smile. They pick up the baby, who snuggled to the woman. So her name is Tayuya. What a pretty name, don't you think, hun? Asked the woman. The man couldn't argue since he thought the name was cute. Yeah. Now let's go inside. Little Tayuya probably doesn't like the cold, said a man. As they bring Tayuya in their house, this started a new life, as neither of them being a Jinchuriki or subordinate of Orochimaru. Now they can lead a normal life. But this isn't the last time they would meet him. The two will meet again, but not for 12 years old darkness. After I update Sword and Guns, I'll be working on Student of the Scorpion, The First Warlock, Never Again, and Snake Empire. Now everyone here's chapter 2 of Sword and Guns. And a little FYI, I never Abaddon any of my stories, I just don't like to, so if any of y'all worry I might just drop a story I started writing, don't trip, I won't just Abaddon it. Recap. As this was happening, an unconscious Naruto and Tayuya were flying through a wormhole. The jutsu worked, it had absorbed their chakra, but in doing so the jutsu absorbed both their chakra, including Kyuubi and the curse mark. The jutsu had fully absorbed the cursed mark. It had also absorbed both of their chakra, but not enough to kill them, but enough for them to live. As this was happening, Kyuubi no Kistun was experiencing total hell because he's a being of chakra. The Thunder Emperor's ascendance of new space, Adarashi Supsu no Sanda Kote no Yusei, is absorbing every single chakra from the Biju, leaving it permanently dead. No number, this can't be happening, I am, said Kyuubi as B starts to fade away. On this day Naruto was no longer a Jinchuriki and Tayuya wasn't a subordinate of Orochimaru. As they enter the wormhole Naruto gets sent to a traditional looking house but Naruto isn't 12 years old body the jutsu also digged the two of them leaving infants. Suddenly the now infant Naruto is crying two grown adults around the age 22 they head to see what was the commotion and to their surprise they see a infant blonde baby wrapped around in orange clothes. The baby is crying at the cold of night. What you think we should do? Asked the woman. Well my dear I say we take in. Paused the man he then picks up the baby and handed the baby to TGE woman he then stops crying at being hugged by the woman she smiles seeing the snuggle up to her. As this was happening the man found a name tag on the orange track suit having the name Naruto. The man then smiles. How about Naruto? Said the man. Naruto then starts to giggle and dialogue hands. Naruto it is, said the man. With Tayuya. Just as Naruto was transported to house so was Tayuya. The now infant Tayuya was in front of a large two-story dark blue house at the sound of hearing a man and woman around the age of 24 years old came out with Remington shotguns. But when they went outside they noticed the crying was coming from a redhead infant both gave each other a knowing smile they pick up the baby who snuggled to the woman. So her name is Tayuya what a pretty name don't you think hun? Asked the woman. The man couldn't argue since he thought the name was cute. Yeah, now let's go inside little Tayuya probably doesn't like the cold, said a man. As they bring Tayuya in their house this started a new life as neither of them being a Jinchuriki or subordinate of Orochimaru. Now they can lead a normal life. But this isn't the last time they would meet him the two will meet again but not for 12 years old darkness. Recap end. With Naruto. A whole year has passed since the former Jinchuriki and Shinobi has arrived in the new world. The Jutsu Thunder Emperor's ascendance of new space Adarashi Supsu no Sanda Kote no Yusei, had also had another effect on Naruto besides of absorbing his chakra and destroying Kyuubi but also wiped Naruto's mind clean but it isn't all bad for the blonde. Luckily he has an amazing family his father Moken Hibana, bird of prey, fire petal, who's a master swordsman of his own dojo and several other dojos around the world. His mother Haruna Hibana, spring, fire petal, who's also a bow staff master. She even has a degree sociology and another one in medicine, and now Naruto has something he never had before an older sibling. He now has an older sister who's 7 years old her name is Samaman Hibana, summer moon fire petal, and just like her parents she knows Kenjutsu and Bojutsu. While Naruto and Tayuya were separated but on the bright side both were able to get rid of both of their curses. Naruto's curse being the Jinchuriki of Kyuubi no Jutsu and no longer being inside his prison known as Konoha while Naruto lived in the village his whole life it had always felt like a prison to him. Samaman has shoulder-length light brown hair, she had two bangs reaching down to her left eyebrow. She even has freckles across her cheeks. She has slanted shaped eyes which are surprisingly light green. She wears a white long-sleeved shirt. On the left side of the shirt is a little pocket on the pocket is a red sun and her sleeves are red in color. She's also wearing cherry red skirt she also wears black leggings under her skirt, and wears white socks that have cats on them. Samaman smiles brightly at her baby brother who smiles back at Samaman. Naruto lets out a chuckle and claps his hands cheerfully. Samaman covers her eyes. Where's Sama-chan? Asked Samaman in a cutesy voice causing the blonde baby to smile. She then uncovers her eyes smiling widely at her brother. Here I am. Exclaimed Samaman. Naruto laughs loudly. Samaman lets out a chuckle as she watches Naruto laugh which makes him look like a fox, which is quite humorous since Naruto used to be the Jinchuriki of a tailed beast who was a giant fox. As Naruto laughs he walks towards his big sister until his face is inches away from hers. Naruto then places his small hands on Samaman's cheeks causing her to laugh. She stares into his blue eyes. What is it Naru-chan? Asked Samaman in her baby talk voice. Naruto then lets out a happy squeal. He then gets off of her entering the kitchen. He then squeals cheerfully seeing his mother. Haruna has freckles across her cheeks. Her hair is brown in color it reaches down to her bottom, and has 6 bangs coming down from her face. She has light green colored eyes and has bright pink lips and wears purple blue eyeliner. She wears a purple and white kimono with green and yellow butterfly designs on it, and wore a dark blue outer wrap that had a purple pelt, and wore black socks. Haruna then lets out a small eep. She looks down, seeing Naruto gripping onto her kimono. She smiles down at her child. "Hi Naru-chan, you need something, honey?" asked Haruna with a smile. Since he couldn't talk, Naruto just kept pulling on his mother's kimono with a small smile. "You want me to pick up Naruto-chan?" asked Haruna. Naruto squeals in excitement as he bounces up and down with a chuckle. She then bends down, picking up Naruto, who lets out a cheerful squeal of excitement. Naruto then rubs his face against Haruna's cheek, which causes the elder brunette to smile at feeling her son's whiskers cheeks up against her own cheeks. She then walks over to the couch and sees her husband Moken sitting on the floor crossed-legged meditating. Moken has narrowed-shaped eyes. He has yellow-orange colored eyes. His hair is blue-purple in color. He has his hair in a curly and spiky style with a small ponytail. He has soiled silver hooped earrings. He's dressed in an all-black kimono. Haruna smiles at Moken. "Hello dear," said Moken in a calm voice that held respect and power. Naruto then lets out a gargling noise. Moken, still with his eyes closed, he gains a peaceful small smile. "Ah ha ha, yes, it is good to see you too, my child," said Moken with a smile. Just as Haruna and Naruto sit on the couch, Naruto bounces up and down in excitement. The blonde then looks towards his mother, smacks his hand on her chest, causing Haruna to sigh. "And now it's time to feed Naruto-chan. I just wish he had another way for getting my attention when most babies cry when they are hungry, but he hits you," said Haruna. Moken smiles at his wife. "Our son is just unique. Now go feed him, dear," said Moken. Haruna nods her head, heading towards the kitchen and feeds Naruto lice pieces of pars and milk. After then, Naruto yawns exhaustively. Haruna then carries the blonde baby to his room. "You had a long day, didn't you?" asked Haruna with a small chuckle. Naruto's response was to yawn loudly as he rubbed his eyes. She then puts her child in his crib. It doesn't take long for the blonde to enter the dream realm. Haruna smiles at her sleeping child. "Have a good nap, little one," said Haruna as she watches her sleeping child. She then smiles brightly. She was honestly grateful for being blessed with such a child. With Tayuya. While Naruto lives inside a traditional Japanese home, Tayuya lives inside a two-story modern Japanese home that has 3 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, 1 kitchen, and 1 living room. Just like Naruto, Tayuya was free from her own curse, which is the cursed seal of heaven, Ten no Juin, thus freeing her from the control from Orochimaru, the missing nin, and Snake Sanin. While both Redhead and Blonde were sent to a new world, she was free from her own prison, which was Orochimaru. If she had not journeyed to the new world, then she would have been found out by Orochimaru or Kabuto. She's dating Naruto. And if Orochimaru didn't kill her, Kabuto, but thankfully for Tayuya, she won't ever have to worry about the Snake Sennin or the Medic Nin. Just like Naruto, who had gained a family, she had gained one herself. Her father, Juden Kyoryushima, Bullet Dinosaur Island, as a former military sniper, now he works as a social worker, helping families when they need it and in some cases reuniting families. Tayuya's mother, Kaihua Kyoryushima, Blossom, Dinosaur Island, who's a police officer, and she even has a 13-year-old brother named Kusashiro Kyoryushima, who's already decided he wants to join the navy. While Naruto's family is a family of swordsmen and swordswomen, Tayuya's family is a family of military and cops. Which is ironic since Naruto was trained by Genma and Gekko, which seems like Naruto will be trained in Kenjutsu once again. This could be the work of fate, but neither Naruto or Tayuya believes in fate. Kaihua is a Chinese woman with pale yet fair skin. She has gold hooped earrings. Her eyes are teal in colored. Her hair is autumn red. She keeps her hair in a bun with 3 strands of hair sticking out. Kaihua wears a black tank top with the kanji lead, Qian, on it. She wears sweatpants that have pink dolphin on them, and she has white socks on. Next to her is Kusashiro, who has short autumn red hair. His hair reaches his shoulders. His eyes are orange in color. The child is wearing a red and blue Spider-Man shirt. He's wearing black basketball shorts and white socks. In front of the two, a 1-year-old Tayuya is laughing and giggling away as she bounces up and down. Kusashiro chuckles at his baby sister as he plays with her. "She's hyper today, isn't she, Ka-chan?" asked Kusashiro, looking at his mother. Kaihua smiles motherly at her son and looks back at her redhead daughter. "That is true, Kusashiro, but you forget she just woke up and she's happy to see us," said Kaihua with a smile. She then looks at her daughter. "You miss Mama-chan, Ani-kun, and Papa-kun?" asked Kaihua in a baby voice. Tayuya smiles brightly at her mother and lets out a baby chuckle. Ma ma! Exclaimed Tayuya in a happy tone. Kusashiro looks in awe at his baby sister. Woo, Tayuya-chan is already starting to laugh, she's so smart. Exclaimed Kusashiro with a happy grin. They both hear a deep chuckle, causing the two to turn around and see Juden standing behind them with a sly smile. Juden has orange narrow-colored eyes, the man has narrowed jawline, he has a small scar on his chin. His hair is gray-green in color, he keeps his hair slicked back with both sides shave. Juden wears a black Punisher shirt, the skull on the shirt is blood red. He wears a black diamond Rolex watch, he wears midnight blue fitted jeans and wears black socks. Juden smiles at Kusashiro. My dear boy, you shouldn't be surprised. Said Juden bends down and picks up Tayuya. She then smiles brightly at her dad. You seem to forget this beautiful girl is very smart. Aren't you, my red? Said Juden in a cheerful tone. Tayuya smiles at her father. Pa! Exclaimed Tayuya. Her family smiles at Tayuya with pride and joy. If only they knew Tayuya, their adopted daughter, was Tayuya of the North Gate, member of Sound 4, and Kunoichi of Otogakure. Time skip 5 years later. The years that has gone by have great for both Naruto and Tayuya. Naruto had started learning to use the Bakken and surprisingly well, surprisingly for the Hibana. Unlike in his world, Naruto was brash, loud, and slightly unintelligent, but because he has people raising him, he has become quite a smart and cunning child. Even in class he was voted as hall monitor. He was quite the energetic child, always playing with people, always making friends. Naruto was also very studious thanks to his mother. He even when got high scores on a test he would never really gloat about. But this had made a lot of his classmates jealous Naruto, and just like any other school he was bullied. While some would run away, not Naruto, he just wouldn't back down from anyone. So, what did the blonde did every time some tried to bully him, he fought them and won. But Naruto couldn't really understand why he's so good in fight, while he did learn self-defense by both of his parents. Fighting for Naruto just felt natural, as if he's been fighting his whole life. Which unknown to Naruto, he wasn't wrong, he may have forgotten about his ninja training, but it seems as if his body hasn't. The young blonde would even find himself using the phrases such as Dadbeo and Yano, but the young swordsman still doesn't quite understand why these two phrases feel as natural as breathing. The only way Naruto could explain is, it feels right for some reason. It's as if these words have a deeper meaning. But nor him or his family knew what was so special about the words he uses. He even had a love for the color orange and ramen, which his parents found odd since Naruto hasn't ate ramen before. Now Tayuya, her life was good. She had a father that teach her about guns, a mother who taught her how to fight, and surprisingly the redhead knew how to fight thanks to her intense ninja training by Orochimaru and Kabuto. Her brother would teach her how to use AABB guns, since using real guns was obviously a big hell no. She took all their lessons like a sponge, but just like any person she had her own quirks. Tayuya could be at times impatient and short-tempered, especially when you make her angry, but her father had drilled in the necessities for being patient and cool-headed, but this still didn't stop his little spitfire to get angry. Tayuya and her family just couldn't figure out why she was so short-tempered. She would at times find herself annoyed at certain people, which the 5-year-old found strange. She even found herself to love music, which ironic since in her old world she used a demon flute to fight, but here in this world, the music is able to calm her mind and is able to calm her down when she's having a nightmare. Out of all the instruments young Tayuya loved to hear, it was the flute. The redhead just felt drawn to it as if it is calling to her. Tayuya also found out she was quite good at shooting in one of the legs. She would always practice on her snakes. Her parents would tell her not to mess with the snakes, but she just had an unconscious hate for snakes, which she found strange since a snake has never done anything to her. She just hated them. She wasn't just good with a gun, but also good in school. Everyone knew not to mess with her since her mother was a cop and father used to be in the army, but just like all schools, you have that one bully who's just an. But sadly, for said bully, Tayuya doesn't take shit from anyone. She beat the living shit out of the bully and somehow had literally kicked the bully's teeth. After that, she called the bully shithead, which she found odd since she had no idea where the word shithead came from. She'd asked her parents and they said it's a bad word. While life for each were going great for the two, they simultaneously had a dream a week ago. Naruto's dream was strange, but to Naruto it didn't feel like a dream, it felt almost real to real. His dream consisted of strange and bizarre images of a giant orange-red fox, with red eyes, and 9 tails, a giant red-toed toad, a strange kunai, a yellow flash, and an eye that is blood red and unlike regular eyes this one was different it held 3 commas circling around. That night Naruto woke up covered in sweat, his face full of tears, and him screaming as if someone has going to kill him. Both parents and his sister had ran in his room wanting to know what's wrong with him. But, as they came in they saw Naruto in his bed covered in sweat while each tried to calm him down. Naruto just kept his arms wrapped around Samamon's waist. Samamon had decided to sleep in his room which Naruto was grateful for. Around the same time Tayuya also had her own nightmare that seemed a little too real to just be a nightmare or dream. In her dream she dreamed about strange images such as a flute, piccolo, a burning house, dead people, a man smiling at her, a strange forehead protector having a stone graved on it, and a clay dog. Subsequently, she woke up to screaming a town the same time as Naruto. Her parents had stormed in her room, her brother would have but he had joined the navy, so this leaves both her parents to comfort her. They calmed their daughter by singing a lullaby. By time they finished singing Tayuya was already asleep with a small smile. Both Juden and Kaihua looked at each other with relief. How could they not? Whatever their daughter dreamed about was scary enough for Tayuya to scream in fright. Neither parents of Naruto and Tayuya didn't know these dreams weren't actually a dream but a glimpse of each of their past. How could they know? Even if they did know they couldn't really explain what happened. Besides no one would believe them. Time skip. 4 years later. They are now 9 years old. This is around the time their bodies are starting to change. That's right, Naruto and Tayuya had hit puberty. While most girls hit puberty at the age of 8 and 10, she hit puberty at 7, which meant she had her period before any of her friends. Luckily, her mother had explained the concept of becoming a woman to her daughter a year earlier so Tayuya wouldn't start freaking out. And just like Tayuya, Naruto had started his puberty at the age 8 a whole year before the boys start puberty. While they were dealing with puberty they had more dreams of their past life. Neither knew why they were having these dreams or how to stop these dreams. Naruto's dream. Today was a normal day in Konoha except a 6-year-old Naruto was in the hospital with bandages. No, Naruto wasn't up all night unfortunately, he was beaten by a group of angry villagers. Why was Naruto attacked by the villagers? Well, Naruto had to research a shinobi of his choosing and Naruto had decided to research Tobirama Senju, the Nadaime Hokage. While he was walking home he bumped into them. Naruto, being the kind-hearted boy, apologized to them. But unfortunately, for him kindness wasn't there, instead angry and hatred, and they took it out on Naruto, which had led Naruto to the hospital in bruises and injuries, and surprising Naruto didn't have any broken bones. So, Naruto lays in the hospital bed with a scowl on his face and Hiruzen standing next to Naruto with head down having a downcast expression. Sure, Naruto was quite a forgiving person, but there's only so much the young blonde could take, and the sole member of the Uzumaki had finally reached his limit. Hiruzen turns his head to Naruto. Naruto-kun, I know you're mad but you shouldn't hate them. Naruto-kun, hating them won't do any good, said Hiruzen in a grandfather tone. But Naruto just glared at Hiruzen with his piercing blue eyes, so them hurting me would? Asked Naruto with anger in his voice. Hiruzen then sighs softly. That's not what I meant, Naruto-kun, and you know it. You should forgive them, after all it's the right thing to do, said Hiruzen as he lectures the young Uzumaki. Naruto then rolls his eyes at Hiruzen, tired of the same old lecture. Every time when the villagers attacked him Hiruzen would always say you should forgive and forget. But Naruto just couldn't. Besides, what sane person would just forgive people that cause them harm, and even when he fights back he gets scolded? Which made no sense to him. Whenever he asked Hiruzen why do the villagers hate him or why doesn't he have parents, it's always the same answer, I don't know, but Naruto knew he was lying to him. Did he did he trust Hiruzen? Not really. Why should I forgive them? I'll never forgive those who hurt those are innocent. The first don't care what their reasons are, said Naruto. He then gets up from his bed and glares at Hiruzen. Besides, I'm tired of you constantly lying to me, said Naruto in a quiet tone. He then walks towards the door but Hiruzen puts his hand on Naruto's shoulder, causing Naruto's blue eyes to gaze into Hiruzen's own brown eyes. Hiruzen then stares into Naruto's eyes. Naruto-kun, I'm not lying and I would never lie to you, said Hiruzen in tone that gave conviction. Naruto doesn't stop glaring at Hiruzen. Then answer me this old man, why do all the villagers glare at me and why shouldn't I be mad at them? Asked Naruto. Hiruzen sighs loudly at this old man knew what he was doing wasn't right but the villagers needed a scapegoat he just didn't know what he was doing was truly worth it after all his and Naruto's relationship wasn't like how it was before. The aged Kage looks down to the blonde, I don't know why, lied Hiruzen in an almost defeated tone. Naruto sighs at the lie, then I'm leaving old I mean Hokage, said Naruto as he exits the hospital leaving the Sandyame Hokage shocked behind believes since Naruto had always called him old man. As Naruto exits the hospital he makes his way to training ground 04. As Naruto walks through the village each of the villager and ninja alike either glare or snarl at the young blonde, but Naruto has gotten used to the glares which was truly sad. Since no one should get used to it. The blonde-haired Jinchuriki takes off his bandages he then sighs at this, no matter how much he gets hurt he always heals Naruto was just happy that they didn't cut any of his climbs off. Naruto has finally arrived at the training ground has a dirt field THS about 30 miles long. The training ground has several of target practice boards. Naruto then pulls out 10 kunais. He throws the kunai at boards but he misses the bullseye. This had gone on for an hour until he hears a sigh. Naruto turns around see a man but this isn't just any man but a Junin. The Junin has brown, shoulder-length hair which hangs about his face and brown eyes. He wears his forehead protector like a bandana, and the standard Jonin outfit and has a senbon in his mouth. The Junin rubs the back of his jed with a calm expression. Naruto just stares at the Junin, who are you? Asked Naruto. The Junin then gains a half smirk, isn't it proper to introduce yourself first kid? Asked the Junin. Naruto then blushes in embarrassment he then rubs the back of his head nervous, hey, sorry I wasn't having a good day my name is Naruto Uzumaki, said Naruto with a nervous grin. The Junin smirks at this, my name is Genma Shiranui, so kid what are you doing? Asked Genma watching Naruto's awkward stance. Naruto then smiles at this since most people look at him with hate but noi this Genma person, I'm practicing my kunai and shuriken throwing Yano. Stated Naruto with a grin. Genma just raised his eyebrow at Naruto, then why are you in that strange stance it's all wrong. Said Genma in a calm tone but in the inside he was angry at the FSCT the instructors had taught Naruto a wrong stance. Naruto tilts his head in confusing, what you mean Genma-san? Asked Naruto. Genma with his senbon in his mouth lets out a soft yawn, it's quite simple Naruto. That stance you're in is all wrong. Said Genma as he stares at Naruto's stance THS akin to a drunken bear trying to sit down. Alright Naruto, your stance is all wrong whoever taught it to purposely taught it to you wrong. Now Naruto relax your shoulders and knees, bring your legs a little closer and bend your legs a little. Ordered Genma he then smiles as Naruto does what he says. Now through the kunai. Said Genma Naruto throws the kunai and almost lands a bull eye which Naruto jumps around in excitement. I did it, Dadbao. Yelled Naruto as he jumps around with a large grin. Naruto then loses his grin and stares at Genma. Why did you help me Genma-san? Not that I'm not grateful but why? Asked Naruto. Genma grins down at Naruto, because I see you have a lot of untapped potential Naruto also you remind me of a friend of mine. Said Genma. Naruto blinks his eyes rapidly, really who do I remind you of? Asked Naruto with a wide grin. Genma smirks at Naruto, actually you remind me a little bit of my friend Anko and Guy. You can be as loud as Anko and you work hard as Guy and let me tell you Sunething both Anko and Guy are incredibly strong but the other reason why I helped you is because I've been looking for a student to train. Said Genma shocking Naruto. Naruto with his mouth open stares at Genma, wait you don't me? Asked Naruto with a shell-shocked expression. Genma just nods his head, yes you're right Naruto I want to take you as my student there's also someone who I want you to meet, grab onto me. Ordered Genma Naruto just raised his eyebrow and Genma just gave him that, just do it look, Naruto grabs onto Genma and both shunshin away from training ground 04. The two then appear in front of a dango shop while at most times it's crowded with Junin and Chunin alike it seems like the dango shop is almost empty with only a few Junin most notably Anko and Kurenai are sitting at a table. Genma searches through the bar searching for his friend Gecko Hayate as he searches he finds his friend. Gecko has short brown hair, dark-colored eyes and dark markings under his eyes. Even though he is a young man, he has pronounced lines under his eyes as well as an unexplained chronic cough that plagued him. He wears the standard Konoha shinobi outfit complete with a forehead protector that he wore as a bandana, flak jacket and regular shinobi sandals. He also carried a katana with a rectangular hand guard strapped over his back. Genma grins at Gecko as Gecko drinks some of his tea. Gecko looks up seeing Naruto and Nenma, which causes him to smile. I take it you finally have Naruto as a student? Asked Gecko. Genma nods his head. Yay, I told you I was going to get Naruto as my student, said Genma with a grin. Naruto looked between the two men in confusion. Wait, what? What are you two talking about? Asked Natuto. Gecko grins at this. You see, Naruto Henma has been wanting you as a student for some time, and subsequently, I made a bet if Genma can get you as your student I will help, said Gecko with a smile. Wait, does THST mean? Asked Naruto. Gecko stands from his seat. Yes, for now on please call me Gecko-sensei, said Gecko with a smile. Naruto then smiles brightly, looking like a grinning fox. Naruto's dream end. Tayuya's dream. While Naruto had lived in Konoha, Tayuya had lived in Kusagakure, hidden village in the grass, and unlike Naruto's parents who were killed when Naruto was born, Tayuya actually lived with her parents. Her father Shiden, Death Tone, was a Junin in the village. He had a special skill. He had a battle piccolo, an instrument that allows him to channel chakra through it, thus allowing him to perform ninjutsu with his instrument. Tayuya's mother Urin, Rainforest, was an elite Juinin capable of controlling grass. Her grass ninjutsu is similar to Hashirama's wood release Mokuten, just not on a grand scale. Urin also had skills in genjutsu. Tayuya was quite happy today. Why, you asked? Well, simple. Her father has gotten her a battle instrument like himself, but her instrument was a flute. Her father had tried to convince his daughter to get a battle piccolo like himself, but she was stubborn about it and wanted a battle flute. But it also helps that she can play both the piccolo and flute. Tayuya smirks at both her parents with jitty and pride. Shiden has a mature narrow jawline, he has slanted shape eyes, his eyes are brown in color. He has brown colored hair, his hair reaches his shoulders, he curps his hair in a ponytail. On his forehead he wears a forehead protector, it has a metal plate with a symbol of grass, the cloth is purple. He wears a short-sleeved gray and tan gi. Under the gi he wears a long-sleeved fishnet shirt. He keeps his gi together by having a dark purple rope tied around his waist. He wears gray shinobi pants and gray anbu-like boots. Urin has an angular jawline, her skin is fair in color. Her eyes are light brown and she has red hair that reaches down to her spine. She has 3 bangs coming down from her face. She wears a forehead protector just like Shiden, but her cloth is black in color. She wears a long-sleeved purple shirt, over it she wears a black Junin vest. Strapped to her back is a katana. Urin also wears a purple cloak, she wears anbu-like pants and sandals. Both Shiden and Urin smile at their 6-year-old daughter who grins back at her with a hand on her hip. Shiden chuckles at this. Are you ready to finally learn how to use a battle instrument? Asked Shiden. Tayuya nods her head furiously. Both parents chuckle at the excitement from their little fire spitter. Heck yeah, now let's hurry up, I wanna learn already, yelled Tayuya with a large grin. Shiden smirks. He then turns towards his wife. She's just like you, headstrong, loud and stubborn, said Shiden. Urin growled at Shiden. She then gains a huge tick mark on her. Want to repeat that, shitface? Hissed Urin as she cracks her knuckles. Tayuya giggles at her dad who shivers in fear. No dear, said Shiden. Urin angry face disappears to a happy one. Shiden then turns towards Tayuya. Now let's begin your training, Tayuya-chan, said Shiden. Tayuya grins at her dad. The two then spent a day practicing Tayuya's battle flute. They didn't stop training until nightfall. Tayuya's dream over. This isn't the first dream they had. The two had numerous dreams of them being in this ninja-like world. While most usually forget about their dreams, not Naruto and Tayuya, they remember every part to the dream. They would even be able to describe the smell of air. And be able to give you a description of the places through HSVE seen within these dreams. Neither didn't know why they had these strange dreams. To them it didn't feel like a dream, it felt more like a memory than anything else. But the two knew there had to be a reason for having these strange dreams, they just knew these dreams had a meaning. You don't just have the same dream for no reason, right? Shiden smirks. He then turns towards his wife. She's just like you, headstrong, loud and stubborn, said Shiden. Yuren growled at Shiden. She then gains a huge tick mark on her. Want to repeat that shitface? Hissed Yuren as she cracks her knuckles. Tayuya giggles at her dad, who shivers in fear. No dear, said Shiden. Yuren angry face disappears to a happy one. Shiden then turns towards Tayuya. Now let's begin your training, Tayuya-chan, said Shiden. Tayuya grins at her dad. The two then spent all day practicing Tayuya's battle flute. They didn't stop training until nightfall. Tayuya's dream over. This isn't the first dream they had. The two had numerous dreams of them being in this ninja-like world. While most usually forget about their dreams. Not Naruto and Tayuya, they remember every part to the dream. They would even be able to describe the smell of air. And be able to give you a description of the places HSVE seen within these dreams. Neither didn't know why they had these strange dreams. To them it didn't feel like a dream, it felt more like a memory than anything else. But the two knew there had to be a reason for having these strange dreams. They just knew these dreams had a meaning. You don't just have the same dream for no reason, right? Recap end. Tayuya wipes away the sweat from her forehead. She just didn't quite understand why did she have these strange dreams. The 9-year-old red-haired female also didn't understand how she was able to remember everything happening in the dream. Sure, there are times when someone can remember certain events in a dream, but she's able to remember everything, especially the smell of beautiful trees. She's just happy it wasn't another strange nightmare. Her door opens and her mother Kaihua walks in and smiles at her. Are you okay? Asked Kaihua in a worried tone. While her daughter wasn't screaming in fright, she was still sweating, but not as heavily as last time when she was screaming in fright. Tayuya shrugged. I guess so, said Tayuya, who's sweating from head to toe. While she wasn't screaming from a nightmare, she was still sweating. Kaihua could only stare at her daughter with concern. Even though her daughter isn't screaming in fear, she was still worried how sweaty she was. After all, people don't sweat from a dream. Kaihua could only guess whatever she was dreaming about had a real effect on her, just like all the other dreams she would have. Are you okay, Tayuya-chan? Asked Kaihua, whose voice is laced with concern and worry. The woman never truly understand why her daughter would wake up sweating head to toe, but she was thankful that her daughter wasn't screaming in terror. Tayuya, who's panting, smiles at her mother and nods her head. Yeah, it was just a dream, said Tayuya, but to the young child didn't believe it was just a dream. It just felt too real. Not just that, but she had a feeling these dreams had a reason. She believed this due to her being able to remember the exact details of the strange village she was in. Kaihua looks at her red-haired daughter with concern and suspicion. Honey, you're covered in sweat. This can't be just a normal dream. Would you like to talk about it? I'm worried about you both, myself and your dad, said Kaihua in a pleading tone, wishing to help her child. Tayuya looks down in sadness as she sees the pained look on her mother's face. Tayuya raises her head and Kaihua sees the look of struggle and confusion. Kaihua grasped hold of the former Kunoichi's hand. Ka-chan, I'm confused, stated Tayuya. She then grips her head tightly. Kaihua tilts her head to the side with her eyebrow raised, confused. Is it about your dream or is it about some boy? Asked Kaihua in a joking tone, hoping to distract the girl from the dream she just had. Tayuya crossed her arms and puffed out her cheeks and gives her mother a glaring pout on her face. Kaihua giggles at her angry daughter. She mentally gives herself a pat on the back. Boys are stupid, exclaimed the 9-year-old child, grumbling underneath her breath about stupid boys. Kaihua covers her mouth, trying to stop herself laughing at the angry Tayuya. She remembers when she had the very same opinion on boys. Kaihua wipes away the tears from her eyes due to the sight of a pouting angry Tayuya. Yeah, boys are stupid, but one day you'll find that one boy not so stupid, said Kaihua with a small smile on her face. Tayuya clicked her tongue and swiftly turns her head away from the red-haired woman. I doubt it, exclaimed Tayuya with determination. She then pats Tayuya on the head. I wouldn't be so sure if I was you. Love works in weird and strange ways, Tayuya-chan, said Kaihua in an encouraging Tayuya to not believe all boys are the same, and she was enjoying teasing her daughter. She just shook her head negatively. If that happens, then he'll be a shithead, exclaimed Tayuya, but her eyes quickly opened widely. Tayuya language. Where did you learn such language, young lady? Exclaimed Kaihua in a stern tone. She knew Tayuya didn't get it from her Arjuden. Tayuya looks down in shame. In my dream, muttered Tayuya in a fast pace. Slow down, Tayuya, I didn't hear you, said Kaihua in a stern tone. Tayuya slowly nods her head. In my dream. I heard the woman in my dream say it, said Tayuya in a low tone, but Kaihua was still able to hear her daughter. Kaihua narrows her eyes. Have you ever met this woman? Or hears that word anywhere else? Asked Kaihua, wanting to know how had used such crude language around her childhood. Tayuya shook her head negatively at her mother. Nope, I've never met the lady before. Lied Tayuya. Well, she wasn't exactly lying, since the only time she actually only saw the woman and man in her dreams, and saying the person has only appeared in your dreams sound crazy, but somehow Tayuya knew all the strange dreams she'd been having must be connected. I haven't heard anyone say that word before, said Tayuya. Kaihua runs her hand through her hair. She then rises from Tayuya's bed. The woman smiles warmly at Tayuya. How about I get you some water? You do have school today and it is 4 in the morning, so get some sleep, said Kaihua. Tayuya nods her head in agreement, with both unaware of the connections of the memories Tayuya is being forced to endure. The very same can be said about Naruto, who also awoke from his own memories. Time skip. The very hallways of Shintoko 3rd Elementary School are crowded with various of children running around, but a small round child can be seen being pushed around in a circle by 5 boys. This isn't anything new, since bullying isn't anything new, especially since children can be mean, and round chubby boy cries at the fact that he's being roughly pushed around as if he is a ball. Oops, my bad, said a child who steps back, allowing the chubby kid to land face first on the floor. The chapter child groans in pain. One of the bullies then begins the kick, forcing the chubby child to hit the floor. Come on, get it up, fatty, said a bully. He then snatches the glasses the overweight child was wearing. He then puts the glasses on. Oh wow, you're super blind, exclaimed the boy. One of the boys who has the overweight child's backpack then begins to dig into. What the heck is this? Asked a bit, who pulls out a magazine of that bag. The magazine itself has an image of a group of Marines on it. The boy looks towards his other friends with a confused look on his face, since he was accepting the magazine to be a hentai, Sports Illustrated, or a Playboy magazine, not some Marine magazine. Seriously, what is this? Asked the boy. Upon seeing none of them knowing what it actually is, he grins and literally tears it in half, laughing at the chubby child. Ahaha, what a loser. Check it out, he's crying. Ahahaha, laughed the boy. One of the other bullies then takes out another magazine. This magazine appears to have a cover of various of people in paintball gear. He then throws it to the ground without a care. He then pulls out a magazine with instructions on BB guns. He then stops that and pulls another one out. The bully nearly freaks out as the magazine has a picture of tanks. He then turned towards the down kid. You're a freak, exclaimed the boy. He then grins mischievously at the chubby child. Oops, my hand slipped, said the boy, who rips the magazine that has an image of paintball users. Those are mine, cried the large overweight child, who has tears and snot out of his nose. He then rises up to get his magazines back, but his efforts are put to a halt as he's pushed down to the ground, thus being forced as each of the bullies literally tear apart each of his magazines. As the last one was torn to shreds, one of the children turns towards his smile with a smile. Well, that was fun. What do you want to destroy? Laughed the bully who's holding his gut. He then smiles widely and snaps his fingers, causing his friends to turn towards him. One of his raised an eyebrow at him. So, what do you want to destroy next? Asked the child who's tearing out the pages from the destroyed magazine. He then pouts as he empties out the large boy's backpack. Aw man, there's not even a Playboy magazine in here. What a loser, grumbled the child in a disappointment. The one then grabs the glasses from their friend. Let's destroy these, exclaimed the child. Heck yeah, let's do it, exclaimed the child. Doit doit doit, chanted the child in excitement. One of the boys grinned at him. Hurry up and break it, Kurokami, cheered a child with glee. Let's give Fatty a swirly next, chanted a child. Oh wow, a swirly, how cliche. Yeah, that's good. Next let's give him the world's meanest wedgie ever, then let's paint him orange and hang him from the outside. Encouraged, but this voice wasn't from one of their friends. No, it was from Naruto Habana. Naruto just waved at him with a grin on his face, but the look in his eyes promised pain. Kurokami looked shocked at Naruto. He was aware of the blonde, who was in all sense of words an enemy to all bullies and a Boy Scout. Well, a very strong Boy Scout. Crap. What are you doing here, Habana? Demanded Kurokami. Naruto stares down at the chubby crying boy and then back at Kurokami. He then shrugged his shoulders. I don't know, walking around until I smelled the odor of idiots, and the smell lead me to you guys, Yano. Grinned Naruto in a mischievous manner but mentally confused. Not of the bullies know he was confused by the strange word since he can never remember saying such word. He then mentally shakes his head. One of the children glares at Naruto. This isn't your business, Hibana. Yelled the child clutching his fist causing it to nearly become red. One of the bullies nods his head. Yeah, mind your own business. Exclaimed the bully but mentally he was scared since that smile of his was anything of one of innocence and friendly. That smile of his reminded him of mischievous kitsune looking at its prey. Naruto's grin didn't leave his face. 5 against 1, that's unfair, Yano. So who wants to go first, or do all you guys want to go all at once? That'll be fun, Dadbao. Grinned Naruto, his eyes then widen at the word, Dadbao. Wait, the only place I've heard Dadbao is my dreams. Just what the heck is going on? Thought a confused Naruto. Then let's even it. Said a feminine voice. The boys turn and see a grinning Tayuya, but her grin vanishes as her brown eyes stares into Naruto's own blue eyes. She then mutters yellow and he mutters red. Both X Jinchuriki and X Sound 4 grip their heads in pain. The bullies use this to their advantage and tries to attack them, but as soon the bullies get in their personal space, both Redhead and Blonde retaliate. Tayuya's side kick a bully in the ribs causing him to buckle. She then rams her knee in the boy's face while Naruto dodges the blow and hits him in the gut with his elbow. The kid wind is knocked out of him. Naruto then punched him straight in the face. Both Blonde and Redhead watched as the two bullies are knocked out due to their heads hitting each other. The 3 other boys grit their teeth. 3 inches frustration as their 2 friends are knocked out. Tayuya dodges a swipe at her. She kicks him in the stomach and then used him as springboard to jump down next to Naruto. She then smirks at him in a manner getting into her fighting stance. Naruto gets into his own fighting stance. You ready, shithead? Grinned Tayuya, ignoring the strange verbal tickets. Naruto grins back at her, giving her a tooth grin. Hell yeah. We got this in the bag, Dadbao. Said Naruto, who ignored the strange word seeing it as unimportant. The 3 bullies were more important. Seems unfair, Yano. Said Naruto. Tayuya nods her head with a smirk. Yeah, for them. Grinned Tayuya. Kurokami grits his teeth in frustration. That's it, get them. Ordered Kurokami as heckened his 2 friends charged at Naruto and Tayuya, but Naruto grabs hold of Tayuya's hands and swings her at a student. Both her feet hit the small boy in the stomach, thus beginning the fight, but both Tayuya and Naruto weren't seeing the fight in front of them. Tayuya was seeing her and 3 other individuals fighting against a white-haired teen who was able to use his very bones just like her dreams. She couldn't control her actions as she uses a flute to summon 3 giant monsters that look like they came out of a Hellraiser movie. While Tayuya was seeing her and 3 others fight against this white-haired teen, he was seeing himself fight against a white-haired man, but instead this man appeared to be an adult. Not only was he fighting an adult, he was wielding the same sword he was found with when he arrived in this new world, and just like Tayuya, he was unable to do anything and just re-watch as he summons 10 clones wielding the sword. But to Naruto it felt just as weird as the other dreams, but then both are awoken from their strange daydream. Both Naruto and Tayuya find themselves in the real world. They both notice the last one standing is Kurokami, who's faced his bruises and his right eye is closed shut. Tayuya goes for a strong side kick while Naruto goes for a strong left hook as both blows hit their target, causing Kurokami to be launched back because both attacks hit him in the face, leaving Kurokami knocked out. Tayuya and Naruto turned towards each other with a dazed expression. The 2 could do nothing but stare at each. Naruto rubs the back of his neck nervously and extends his hand out. Hey, I'm Naruto Hibana. You were awesome back there. Said Naruto with a nervous grin. Tayuya grins back at him in a manner and grabs hold of his hand and shakes. I'm Tayuya Kyorishima, you were great too, shithead. Grinned Tayuya. She then blushes in embarrassment at the strange word. Naruto could only blink his eyes in confusion. Shithead. Exclaimed Naruto with a confused look on his face, not sure what to make of the strange word. Tayuya looked down in shame at the crude word, but for some reason she felt no need to apologize at the blonde. Sorry. Said Tayuya in an apologetic manner. He then released a chuckle of nervousness. It's okay, I'm sure you didn't mean it. I mean, I said Dadbao and I don't know why I said it, to be honest. Said Naruto. Tayuya raised an eyebrow at him. Dadbao. What does that mean? Questioned a confused Tayuya, wondering is that some sort of verbal tic he has. Naruto just shrugged his shoulders. I don't know. Said Naruto. He then turned towards the chubby kid. You alright? Asked Naruto. Tayuya also turned towards him. Both then help you put his stuff back in his bag. The chubby kid nods his head. I'll be fine. Thank you, you guys really helped me. Oh my, the way I'm Kota Hirano, I better go, I don't want to be around when they wake up, said Kota, who glances at the knocked out bullies. He was thankful for both blonde and redhead, but there was something mysterious and admirable about the two. And Kota was a little scared of the two since the blonde and redhead fought like someone else, which is disturbing and scary. Naruto place a hand on his hip. Okay, just let us know when those dummies bother you, because now you two awesome friends, Kota, exclaimed Naruto in a cheerful tone. Kota could just stare in shock. Friends? You two want to be my friends? Asked a hesitant Kota. Tayuya raised her eyebrow at him. Why wouldn't we? Asked Tayuya. She then glanced down to the floor and sees various of the magazines. She then picks up a ruined magazine. Is it because of these? Asked Tayuya. The chubby boy nods his head. She then scoffed at him. Who cares if you like stuff like this? I live in a family filled with military and cops, stated Tayuya. Kota looks at Tayuya in amazing. Yeah, she's right, who cares? It shouldn't matter what you like as long as you're a good person, said Naruto. Kota smiles and bows at the two. Thank you, I must be going, said Kota, exiting out of the screen. As he vanishes, both Tayuya and Naruto just stayed at each other. Have we met before? Tayuya in a curious tone. Naruto rubs his hand through her hair. I don't think so, BB, but I feel like I know you somehow. Is that weird? Asked a confused Naruto. Tayuya crossed her arms and released a sigh. Normally I would say yes, but for someone it's not, said Tayuya. She knew she never met Naruto, but it just felt weird. It felt like something was pulling her towards him. But then both Naruto and Tayuya grip each of their heads in pain. Naruto's dream. The young blonde appears to be in some type of forest. Naruto looks around in amazement. He had never seen anywhere so green before, but Naruto realized this strange place was in the same location of all the strange dreams. The strange dreams always brought him back to this strange place, but for some reason this part of the forest looked slightly different than the rest he'd had seen in his dreams. He then decides to look round and find out this strange area is closed off by a giant fence towering over any of the buildings he has ever seen. Wow, that's huge, I've never seen anything this big in my life, thought Naruto with amazement. And just like before, his body soon works as he turned his head towards Genma Shiranui, his sensei. The brunette keeps a calm and collected expression on his face, but the young looked at him with concern. Are you sure you want to do this, Naruto? Asked Genma. He then glanced towards a cage and stares at the giant black wolf that butts some of the ninja dogs to shame. Naruto unsheathed his okatana and grins widely at his sensei. Yosh. Let's do this, Genma sensei, yelled Naruto with excitement. The man runs the back of his head. You know, only people who have been a genin do this type of training. But to give you a heads up, this animal is an infant, but your job is to avoid it for a minute. Now, let me ask you again, are you sure about this? Genma. Naruto nods his head. Yeah, let's do it, exclaimed Naruto, who's excited. Genma pressed a button and the human-sized beast runs out towards Naruto at incredible speed. Naruto barely dodged the wolf. He quickly backdrops away and pulls out a smoke bomb and throws it at the face of the giant canine. Hayate massages his chin and allows a smile to appear on his face, using the smoke bomb to blind its sight, but that only temporary. Hold it off, commented Hayate with a smile. Genma turned towards Hayate with a nod of the head, crewing on a Senbon. True, he's also skilled at hiding. I've never really understood how he was able to hide from the Anbu and citizens at times, stated as he impressed with Naruto's hiding strategy. Hayate released a cough. He mostly hid where others might not find him, said Hayate. Genma nods in agreement, and he knows the only reason why some of citizens were able to get him because they'd cornered him or trap him in a situation where he was unable to escape. He then watches as the wolf headbutts Naruto, knocking him back. Upon seeing the blonde being hit, he hits the wolf in the pressure points with his Senbon, knocking the creature out. Hayate and Genma walks towards Naruto. That was quite amazing. You lasted about 20 seconds before it landed a hit on you, said Hayate with a smile on his face. Naruto looked down in sadness as he failed. Genma placed his hand on top of his head, causing Naruto to look up at Genma. You shouldn't be so down. We were surprised you lasted as long as you did. He didn't think you'll lasted, plus your other classmates wouldn't even lasted 5 seconds, said Genma with a smile. Hayate nods his head. He's right, you know, especially Sasuke Uchiha, said Hayate, shocking Naruto. Genma chuckles at the shocked blonde. He's right. It's just like said people don't usually do this type of training except for people like Guy and Anko, said Genma as he gains a shiver down his back. Naruto shot Genma a raised eyebrow. Who's Guy and Anko Genma-sensei? Asked Naruto in a wondering tone. Genma messes with Naruto's hair causing the child to glare at him. Don't worry you'll meet them someday, said Genma. Naruto then grins. I bet that Anko person is cool, said Naruto with a grin. Both Genma and Hayate couldn't help but to shiver at the idea of Anko training Naruto instead of them. The world doesn't need two Anko in the world, one is enough, thought Genma. He then smirks at Naruto. I have an idea that'll increase your reflex, said Genma. Hayate looks at his brunette friend with a raised eyebrow and Naruto looks at him with excitement look on his face and him bouncing up and down excitedly. Really, awesome. What is it? Asked Naruto. The training I have for you is new and it'll be difficult until you can move correctly, said Genma. He then pulls out arm bands. This training with have two steps. The first step is to use these weight bands. Each band will weigh 5 pounds each. They will increase once you've gotten used to the weights. The second portion is to dodge my Senbon, explained Genma in a lecturing tone. Hayate turns towards Naruto. Think you can handle it? Asked Hayate. Naruto grins. Hell yeah. I've complete this training in no time Datbayo, exclaimed Naruto. He then puts on each band. He watches as they turn red and gain the kanji for 5 woo. Naruto is then brought down to his knees, then his face slams to the ground. Dream end. Tayuya's dream. The redhead finds herself what looks like it can be a wide jungle-like area, but to the redhead it seemed more like a training ground due to the various of practice targets around the area. But just like Naruto, she had always found herself within the same village and she honestly doesn't understand why, but even now she understood these dreams are connected. Tayuya's body then turned towards her father in this strange dream. Shiden smiles warmly at his daughter who looks very eager to learn sound ninjutsu. You ready to learn how to use a battle fruit? Asked the brunette with a smile on his face. The young 9-year-old nods her head. Of course Odo-san. I've been ready. And when I master my battle I'll be the strongest kunoichi in the universe, exclaimed Tayuya in an overconfident. Shiden chuckles at Tayuya. It was almost scary and funny how Tayuya acted like her mother, but upon seeing her father at her she glares daggers at her father. What's so funny? Yelled Tayuya. Nothing, you just reminded me of your mother, said Shiden with a warm smile on his face. Tayuya giggles at Shiden. She then grins at her father, causing him to raise an eyebrow at her. This smirk had also raised alarms. If mom heard you she would hurt you, said Tayuya with a wide grin on her face. This had made Shiden shiver. He knew if Yurin had heard him she would either take it as an insult or just hit because she think he deserved it. Tayuya then laughs at him. Ah ha ha, Odo-san is scared of Ka-chan, laughed Tayuya. He just smile at his daughter. I am not scared of Yurin, thought Shiden. Alright, now that you'd had your fun let's get on with your lesson, said Shiden. Yay. Training time. So, what we going to learn first? Asked Tayuya. Well, first I think I should teach you one of my favorite technique. It shouldn't be too hard to learn. The technique I want to teach you is Flare Hunter Furahanta. It is a C-rank ninjutsu that creates a fire hound. Now allowed me to show you, said Shiden. He then gives to play his piccolo and pours in yang chakra into the instrument. Tayuya watches in amazement as a dog who appears at the size of a bear. The dog is a rusty red with 4 eyes on its face and 24 eyes on its limbs. Tayuya's eyes lit up. I'm astounding in amazement. Cool, exclaimed Tayuya. She then puts the flute to her mouth and begins to do the same, but instead of an animal appearing a smoke appears. She then looks down in sadness. He begins to place his hand on her shoulder, but his eyes catch something strange. Well, strange for a ninja. Up in the sky he sees a strange clay-like form falling from the sky. The man's eyes widened in shock. Oh no. What is Iwagaker's explosion core doing here? Wait, there's only one person here, thought Shiden with a surprised expression. He then grabs Tayuya and put her behind him. He then begins to play his piccolo, secret art, holy grail, Himitsu no Geijutsu, Seihai, exclaimed Shiden. Tayuya watches as giant golden beads appear around her. A red barrier of chakra surrounded the two. Tayuya then watches in fear as the clay object plummet towards the ground. Her expression of fear shifts towards horror as a huge explosion enveloped the place it was dropped in. She then begins to cry and turns towards her father. Oh, Arho Hauser was there. Mama Wawa was home. cried Tayuya in horror as she watched her house and everything around it is destroyed by VTHE clay object. She couldn't believe this was opening. Her mother was gone. She then looks up in the sky and she a person wearing a cloak, but the one thing that caught her attention was his blonde long hair and the clay bird he was sitting on. The mysterious man grins down with a grin. She then watches as he digs in his pouch and pulls out large beetle-sized clay objects. With no time to do anything, Shiden grabs Tayuya's hand and throws her into the ground and creates a ninjutsu barrier. He then smiles at his daughter. Be safe, Tayuya-chan. Your mother and I love you, said Shiden. He then turned around towards the blonde man and creates various of hounds. Dream end. Both Tayuya and Naruto release the grip on their head. Tayuya sees Naruto with a wide expression and he sees her with a shocked expression and tears coming down from her face. Did you see something? Asked Naruto in a caution tone. Tayuya nods her head. Yeah, I was in a village, said Tayuya as she wipes away the tears. Naruto's eyes widened in shock. And these dreams bring you back to the same vision, right? Asked Naruto. Tayuya nods her head and smiles at him. So, I'm not insane. I knew there was some reason why I was having these dreams. I just didn't know for what reason I had these dreams, said Tayuya. Naruto rubs the back of his neck. Man, this is crazy. So what do you think? So should do I mean we can't tell anyone about this, said Naruto with a nervous expression as the two begin to walk towards class. The only thing we can do, said Tayuya gaining a confused look from Naruto, rely on each other for now. The only person we can trust is each other, said Tayuya. Naruto nods his head. Yeah, I guess you are right, said Naruto with a small smile. Tayuya puffed out her chest in overconfidence. So this means we can't tell anyone, our friends or family. But this is weird. Usually I would never trust someone I don't know, but for some odd reason I trust you. Sorry if that sounds weird, said Tayuya with an embarrassed blush on her cheeks. She didn't know, but for some reason she didn't believe she needed to actually apologize. Naruto rubs the back of his head with a fox-like grin. It's no biggie, said Naruto. Tayuya grins at him. See you later. We'll hang out at lunch, said Tayuya running towards Naruto. The blonde's eyes open. I'm realization. He then takes off towards his own class. Oh, no, I can't be late to class. I've never been late before, thought Naruto at the idea of being late plagues his mind. Sure, finding out the dreams he's been having that are connected to something important is a big deal, but right now the dreams mean nothing to him. Both Tayuya and Naruto release the grip on their head. Tayuya sees Naruto with a wide expression and he sees her with a shocked expression and tears coming down from her face. Did you see something? Asked Naruto in a caution tone. Tayuya nods her head. Yeah, I was in a village, said Tayuya as she wipes away the tears. Naruto's eyes widened in shock. And these dreams bring you back to the same vision, right? Asked Naruto. Tayuya nods her head and smiles at him. So, I'm not insane. I knew there was some reason why I was having these dreams. I just didn't know for what reason I had these dreams, said Tayuya. Naruto rubs the back of his neck. Man, this is crazy. So what do you think? So should do I mean we can't tell anyone about this, said Naruto with a nervous expression as the two begin to walk towards the class. The only thing we can do, said Tayuya gaining a confused look from Naruto, rely on each other for now. The only person we can trust is each other, said Tayuya. Naruto nods his head. Yeah, I guess you are right, said Naruto with a small smile. Tayuya puffed out her chest in overconfident. So this means we can't tell anyone, our friends or family. But this is weird. Usually I would never trust someone I don't know, but for some odd reason, I trust you. Sorry if that sounds weird, said Tayuya with an embarrassed blush on her cheeks. She didn't know, but for some reason, she didn't believe she needed to apologize. Naruto rubs the back of his head with a fox-like grin. It's no biggie, said Naruto. Tayuya grins at him. See you later. We'll hang out at lunch, said Tayuya running towards Naruto. The blonde's eyes open. I'm realization. He then takes off towards his class. Oh, no, I can't be late to class. I've never been late before, thought Naruto as the idea of being late plagues his mind. Sure, finding out the dreams he's been having that are connected to something important is a big deal, but right now the dreams mean nothing to him. Recap end. Several years have passed since Naruto and Tayuya had reunited. Now they are sophomores at Fujimi High School, but they are members of the student council along with their childhood friend Miki Yuki. After they gained their memories, they once again began, but everyone who knew the two could tell the duo liked each other. Naruto had aged into a handsome young man while still having the tan skin. He no longer had baby fat. He even allowed his hair to grow out like his father. Tayuya had grown a little. She's a few inches shorter than him, with her face meeting his stomach. She also had allowed her red hair grow that reaches her back. She keeps it this long because Naruto had told her she has beautiful hair. She now has B-cup sized and wide hips. The former ninjas and Yuki stare at a small group of boys who are holding a cigarette cart. What the hell do you idiots think you are doing? Growled Tayuya in an annoyed tone. Instead of allowing her Naruto not becoming a prankster, she decided they will join the student council and beat the shit out of any idiot that thinks they can walk over them. Nothing, we're just playing cards, says the scared teen. Naruto grins at them. Really cause it to look like you guys were going to smoke cigarettes at school, states Naruto. He then begins cracking his knuckles. If you're going to lie, might make it a better lie, whispered Yuki. Tayuya nods her head at the pink-haired girl. The two girls had become good friends after Tayuya had saved her from a guy that was being unnecessary creepy. I'll give you morons on the count of 5 to get to class, or Blondie is going to beat the stupidity out of those small brains. You 1. Says Tayuya. The students quickly runs towards their classes, says Tayuya. Yuki snickers at Tayuya. Not everyone can take hits from Naruto-kun. He has super strength, exclaimed Yuki. Well, you're not wrong, says Tayuya. Their chakra has increased over the years, but their chakra has been cut in half. Neither of the two didn't mind it since they had no interest in joining the army. They both enjoy their freedom. He's no longer a Jinchuriki and she isn't the pawn of Orochimaru, plus she had something she didn't back in their world friends. To be honest, Naruto is the only friend she ever had. She turns to the blonde first friend and boyfriend, plus Yuki is one of her good friends. Naruto then grins at the pinknet. That's because I'm the strongest member on the student council. Grins Naruto. The pinknet giggles at Naruto. I don't think anyone can beat you. While I better get to class before Shido has a bitch fit, says Yuki. She then waves the two off and begins run down the hall. Tayuya turns to Naruto with a smirk. She then grabs him by the hand and drags him away. Back in their old world, they couldn't do this due to her being Orochimaru's top soldier and him being the son of the famed Minato Namikaze. At least in this world he doesn't have a deal with his team and she doesn't have to worry about Orochimaru lurking every corner. But now in this world, they do relationship things they couldn't do back in their old world. Plus Tayuya knew if she ever met Sakura she would drop the bitch the minute the pink-haired girl opens her big mouth. But Tayuya wanted to beat the shit out of a lot of his friends and she wouldn't mind letting her Doki tear Kakashi a brand new asshole. After dragging Naruto back to the student council room, she locked the door and grins at him, enjoying how much he's grown. Sure, when he was younger he was cute in an annoying way, but now he's handsome. But she wasn't happy that she barely has grown at all, but everyone knew how short she was since the two can always be seen together. With Tayuya's eyes meeting Naruto's chest, one might call Tayuya short, but only the stupid types made cracks about her height. She may be short, but that doesn't mean she doesn't know how to crack a few skulls. Naruto smiles at her. He then caresses her cheek, causing her to grin with a blush. She wraps her arms around his neck and bringing him down to her eye level. He blushes as he gets lost in her chocolate-colored eyes. I love your hair, it's beautiful, exclaims Naruto. No matter how many times he calls her crimson hair beautiful, it always fills her stomach with butterflies. These moments she didn't feel like Tayuya of the North Gate, she just felt like a normal teenage girl. She grins at him. Cheesy bastard, mocked Tayuya, but her tone didn't hold its usual fierce vibe. She then grabs hold of his whiskered face and claims his lip. He wraps his arms around her waist, causing her to moan into the kiss, enjoying the taste of her blonde lover. She then begins to bite on his bottom lips, demanding him to open his mouth. Before he could even fully open his mouth, she rams her tongue in his mouth. With her in control, she attacks his tongue with her own. Naruto's face becomes a deep scarlet color. She always liked their makeout sessions to be more heated than most couples. They pull away from each other. She then attacks his neck. Naruto's eyes then narrowed as he stares out the window. What the hell? Exclaimed Naruto. This causes Tayuya to pull away from him and stare outside. And what they watched made them glare. They watched as a stranger bites into a teacher, causing him to fall to the ground. One of the teachers, the beautiful Kyoko, watches as a fellow teacher and lover just died, and it was the fact that a bite killed him, but she smiles as he rises, but he looks undead. He growls at them. He then rises and takes a bite out of another teacher, ripping a huge chunk of their neck. The other teachers watch in horror, and said teacher then rises to his feet undead. Just as she's surrounded by the undead teachers, their heads are removed by Naruto. Kyoko stares in shock as Naruto has cold hardened eyes. He quickly grabs her hand and runs off. What's going on? Exclaims a confused Kyoko, but Naruto quickly jumps back into the room. He puts her on the floor. She looks around in confusion. What? How did I get here? I was just at the door. Stuttered a shaken Kyoko. The teacher didn't quite understand what was happening. She had so many questions. She turns back to the young blonde and redhead duo and watches they grab to duffel bags, confusing her. She didn't even understand why Naruto had a sword on him. She watches as Tayuya pulls out 2 pistols and a shotgun. Why do you have such things, Tayuya-san? Howled Kyoko. If it wasn't bad enough she had her fellow teacher's blood on her and watch her fellow friends and boyfriend killed in front of her, even though they did turn to creatures that ate the living. Tayuya clicks her tongue in annoyance. Just before she could get any word out, the principal spoke, telling them there was an incident, and but suddenly shit hits south as everyone heard the principal being attacked by one of the undead. Shit just hit the fan. Hissed Tayuya. They then hear screams of teachers and students knocking each other, many of people who were trampled to death. Both Naruto and Tayuya narrowed their eyes while the teacher looks on in shock. She then turns to the window and noticed the city is on. In panic, she couldn't believe it. This was happening. The only difference is that this isn't a movie or some stupid game. No, this was real life, and a zombie apocalypse had just started. But how everything was fine just a few minutes ago, mumbled Kyoko. Tayuya was not happy after finally getting rid of that faggot Orochimaru and his bitchboy Kabuto. She and her boyfriend end up in a zombie apocalypse. Like what the she was happy having a normal life, but of course nothing is ever easy, especially with having Naruto around. She loves him, but that blonde dumbass is a magnet for trouble. You've got to be kidding me. This is bullshit. Zombies. Real mother. Zombies. If I wanted to be miserable, I'd just go home. This sucks. Thought Tayuya. She then to Naruto, knowing he wasn't liking this. I swear if there is a god, go suck it, you cunt. Thought Tayuya in annoyance. Well, we can't go out there unless you wanna know how Mufasa felt. Mumbled Tayuya. She was right, even though they could easily cut them down with an ease that would just waste time, plus they had no real plan. What now? Asked Kyoko. Naruto rubs the back of his neck. The first thing we need is a car, so we'll have to head to the club room. It's where they keep the keys to the bus, but first, we'll need to wait for fear makes people do horrible things, says Naruto. Kyoko sighs. She then turns to the 2 couple. Those 2 are not normal. Who are they? Wondered Kyoko. She sighs. She just hopes her friend Shizuka is alright. Ah, crap, we have to save that dumb bitch Yuki. Groaned Tayuya. She loved her friend, but her friend has always drawn the attention of weird bastards, plus the girl couldn't find her way out of a plastic bag. Tayuya quickly dials Yuki's number. I swear if you are a zombie, I'm gonna shove my foot so far up your Tayuya. Even though she did start teaching the pinknet to fight, she was still at a disadvantage, especially without a weapon. Hello, whispered Yuki. Tayuya smirks at hearing her friend's voice. Where are you? Asked Tayuya. Yuki and Kazui. She finished boarding up the windows, which they had to do very careful not to draw the attention of the undead. She narrows her eyes as a few undead stagger their way through the halls. Nurse's office and hurries up. I'm not sure how long we can stay here, says Yuki. Right. Just keep your head low, said Tayuya. Tisk. Like I have a choice. Hissed Yuki in a low. Tayuya ends the call. She then turns to Kyoko. Ready? Asked Tayuya. She nods her head, not trusting her voice. She then fixes her hair and glasses. Staying in the school isn't a choice, and unfortunately, my car is too small for everyone, says Kyoko. Tayuya nods her head, handing the teacher a 9mm. You haven't held a gun before? Questioned Tayuya, watching as the woman stares down at the gun and being surprised at how heavy the gun is. No, never had a reason to, replied Kyoko. The teacher watches as the 2 straps the duffel bags on themselves. It's pretty simple, point and shoot and don't be a dumbass, use both heads. Says Tayuya. She then turns to Naruto, who has 2 knives drawn. You ready, shithead? Grinned Tayuya. Come on, we got a girl to save, Yano. Grinned the blonde. Even though he was grinning, he was sad that his peaceful life was over. He was also worried about his family, After all, he did try to call them but he couldn't get through. He knew he shouldn't be too worried, they are trained, but that still doesn't calm his worries. The door slowly opens up. He quickly sees 3 zombies. He narrowed his eyes. His training in ninja skills had only increased over the years. He throws both knives into the heads of the 2 zombies. He then unsheathed his sword, cutting off its head, and very much like the movies, you take out the head, they stay dead. Naruto swings his sword, cutting out a zombie's head that was walking behind him. Tayuya and Kyoko walk out and they begin hearing groans. They quickly walked towards the edge of the wall as the zombies stumble across. They seem to be ignoring Naruto, Tayuya, and Kyoko. They're blind, thought Naruto. He then looks on the floor and sees a small pencil. He picks it up. Both females watch in surprise as he tosses the pencil across the room. The undead charge at the wall where the pencil was thrown. So, they use their ears, mumbled Tayuya. They then slowly walk past them. Kyoko then gazes at the young students. So, why do you have those weapons? Asked Kyoko. It didn't make sense. Then again, nothing is starting to not make sense. For possible school shooters, this school is full of dumb and we don't need a little nerd blasting everyone, says Tayuya. She thought it was pretty obvious since this school has a lot of people who bully, which she thinks is stupid since you can do anything better than harassing some nerd, but then again teenagers are stupid. Kyoko stares at her with a deadpanned expression. That makes sense, mumbled Kyoko. She could help but remember hearing how Naruto and Tayuya would always beat down any bully. Most have stopped trying to fight the 2 since the 2 are ridiculously strong. While she was a bit peeved that Naruto had killed her boyfriend, but if it wasn't for him she would probably be one of them by now. While they were making their way to the nurse's office, Yuki and Ishii had their backs pressed against the door, stopping 2 zombies from entering the office, while Shizuka just shifts around the room in a ditzy manner. But that was just a mask. This was horrifying. She wishes this was just a horrible nightmare and any minute she'll wake up forgetting she watched a child who was bitten, then turned to the undead, forcing the 2 students to kill the high schooler zombie. Yuki grits her teeth in frustration with an annoyed look on her face. Damn it, this sucks. Where the air those 2? Tayuya, if I die I blame you, mumbled Yuki. Unfortunately, the groans of the undead then begins to draw more to the door. Yuki stares down at the broken pole. Ishii wasn't faring any better. The poor teen was scared shitless. This was a nightmare, seeing his classmates and teachers becoming undead. Shizuka senpai, we can't stay here, get ah! Screamed Yuki just as they storm in. They are quickly gunned down like an old 80s action flick. The remaining are then cut down by Naruto. She looks at her friends with a wide smile, not caring for the tears. Shizuka in a ditzy manner jumps with positivity. She might be dense, but she knew one bite, no matter how small, is all it takes. She also knew the undead were blind. She then claps her hands in glee. Yay! We're saved! Cheered a happy Shizuka. Ishii released a breath he didn't know he was holding. Oh, thank Kami, says the teen. He then stares in confusion as he sees Yuki trying to hug an unwilling Tayuya, who looks annoyed. His eyes then gaze down at her guns. Tayuya senpai, why do you have those guns? Asked the boy. Do you want to live? Asked Tayuya, not knowing what to say. The boy just nods his head. Tayuya smirks at this. Then stay with us, exclaimed Tayuya with a grin. He then smiles. He watches as Shizuka hugs her fellow teacher. Naruto senpai, you and Tayuya senpai made it before me, says Seiko. The beautiful maiden woman smiles at the 2. She then turns to the others. And you saved the nurse. Has anyone been bitten? Asked the woman. What the hell? These 2 look like Tsunade and Hinata. Well, if Hinata had a backbone, thought Naruto. He then turns to Seiko and shook his head at the shrine maiden teen. He then turns to Yuki, who also shook her head negatively. No, we're all good. We're heading for the club room to get keys, says Naruto. That makes sense, says Seiko. The brunette then turns to Yuki, who has a self-made spear. She then turns to the blonde nurse. It was clear she probably never been in a fight, so expecting her to use any type of weapon was unlikely. She then turns to the other male who was holding a medical pole. What's your name? Asked Seiko. Kazu Ishii, says Ishii, now feeling nervous. You did a wonderful job protecting Yuki and the nurse, says Seiko. Ishii blushes at the compliment, but that isn't a suitable weapon. May I see it? Asked Seiko. Before he can hand it to her, Naruto steps up, giving him a large weapon. This will be better than some self-made spear, says Naruto. Thank you Uzumaki senpai, says Ishii with a bow. The young teen was quite surprised with the weight of the blade. And don't be dumbass and trying to be a hero. And aim for the head. The rules in the movies still apply. Orders to Yuya. He nods his head. Good, now let's get going. Ordered Tayuya. The young Ishii nods his head. After all, a horse of the undead had come by. It's better to leave now before any other undead comes. She did shoot her guns and they don't have the silencer on them. And the undead would soon be here, so the group quickly fled, not wanting to take any chances. Unfortunately, a certain blonde kept falling on her more than a few times. Tayuya, Seiko, Yuki, and Kyoko sighs at the woman. Tayuya kneels before the fallen woman. Within seconds she cuts the squirt. Shizuka watches in shock as the small blades cut down her clothes. She glares at Tayuya. Hey, that was Prada! Exclaimed the nurse. Tayuya stares at Shizuka in annoyance. What's more important? Your clothes or your dumb life? Insulted Tayuya, glaring at Shizuka. Both. Exclaimed a pouting Shizuka. Dumbass, groans Tayuya. Shizune puffed her cheeks out at the cursing redhead. Kyoko helps her friend up. Tayuya stares at the clingy Shizuka with a deadpan expression. She'll be lucky to get out of this shithole alive, though she knew others like Kyoko and Ishii would be lucky to even make it outside. It's already a shitstorm in here and outside is gonna be a bitch outside. Thought Tayuya, glaring at the blood-stained walls. Ishii then turns to the other male. Naruto-senpai, what do we do when we get the bus? Asked Ishii. Well, I plan to get everyone's family then head somewhere safe, but we'll need somewhere secure. Unfortunately, neither Tayuya's nor mine is that secure, and of course anyone who we may find, says Naruto. He then rubs the back of his neck. Adopted he may, but they are still his family. Plus Naruto Uzumaki always protects his most precious people. Shizuka then turns to the teens with a megawatt smile. This action only caused her outrageous to bounce. She looked away in respect while Naruto just stares at her face. He knew if his eyes even moved an inch this would only anger the short-tempered tomboy, and angry jealous Tayuya is never a good thing. I know just the place. My friend's place. There's this big wall and a big view. There's this tank girl this big. Exclaimed the excited woman. And where is this house? Asked Seiko. Tokanasu City, says Shizuka. Well, let's go. The faster we're out of the school the better, says Naruto while slow. Once they get their hands on you it's over, especially if they are in a group you're already dead. But, because they are undead they no longer have any restraints. Plus being in a closed space area isn't good, especially since they can come out of any of these rooms waiting for their next meal. Naruto then turns to his hot-tempered girlfriend. He smiles warmly at her. She blushes at him and grabs his hand, running her fingers over his own. At least I have her by my side. If it is the end of the world I'm happy it's with her. My Tayuya, thought Naruto. The young blonde had always dreamt of them together, but back then he always thought he would need to be like Sasuke, a traitor of the village. But he supposed he is a traitor. The only difference is left for happiness while Sasuke left for power. He used to feel bad for his diseased friend, but he soon realized Sasuke didn't care about them. He only cared for himself, and the village catered to his selfish desires. And now the village was forced to go on without any Uchiha or Uzumaki Jinchuriki, but Naruto could care less about Konoha. It was never his home, only his prison. And now the two are from their prison. Konoha and Orochimaru are far from their grasp. He's now free from Kyuubi no Kitsune, no longer hearing the annoying fox tempting him to remove the seal, but it seemed like Haku was right. With the Genjutsu Kunoichi by his side he feels like he can take on the whole world. It also helps she likes him. Then again, not many can handle Tayuya's unique personality. Shizuka smiles warmly at the former ninjas. The world might be going on fire, but she can't help but feel happy for the two. Plus she was a fan of romance. Kyoko looks at her fellow collage with a deadpan expression. She then pulls on Shizuka's arm. Will you stop acting like a child? You are an adult just like me, whispers Kyoto. Shizuka just smiles at her friend with a small pout. But they're so cute. Whined Shizuka. The young blonde woman ignores the glare of Tayuya. Plus I'm scared, thought Shizuka as her eyes glance at the walls. She even looks behind her and releases a breath she didn't know she was holding. She honestly wishes she could just wake up from this horrible dream, but everyone wishes this was just some bad dream. But fortunately, for them, they aren't dead, or worse, undead. Everyone then stops as two undead walks towards them, groaning. Both Naruto and Seiko look at each other with a nod. With sword bakken drawn, the two easily kills the two. With the two undead students finally dead, they continue on their part. Ishii looks at the dead undead with a sigh. That could have been me or any one of us. I sure am thankful for those two, thought the glasses teen. His eyes widened as the undead launches itself at him. Ishii quickly stabbed him through the head. Ishii removes the spears and quickly walks a little faster. Yuki turns to him with a look of concern. Are you okay? Asked the Pinkett teen. He shakily nods his head. I'll be alright, but I think I'm going feel much better when we're on a bus, says Ishii with a nervous look. She smiles at him with a nod, plus she wouldn't mind a shower. I hope this place is as protective as she says, thought Yuki with a hopeful sigh. She was also pretty sure their classmates were most likely eaten or turned into an undead corpse, but she did feel a lot safer with Seiko, Naruto, and Tayuya. Yuki then turned to Shizuka, who's clingy with Kyoto. She is a child, thought Yuki, but she really couldn't fault the young woman. This was scary. Seiko's eyes glance at Naruto's sword and smile, happy that a fellow swordsman survived, but she isn't surprised. She knew he belonged to a kendo family just like her own family. She can also tell the look in both Naruto's and Tayuya's eyes told her they weren't even scared, but they were just cautious and ready. Ready for the next zombie to just hop out. At least with her friends here she doesn't have to worry about being turned into a buffet. She then sighs, I can't believe I'm thinking about food at a time like this. Thought Yuki. It also didn't help, she can feel the grumbles in her stomach. Ah! Yelled a young girl. They quickly run towards the sound of screams, but with Naruto and Tayuya being the faster of the group they were able to make it to the classroom faster. Both of them glared at the zombies that are charging at an overweight Kutra, and a very terrified Saya throws various objects at the undead. Tayuya glares at the undead. She pulls out various knives and throws them head on, each knife stabbing its way into each zombie's head. With fresh tears in the Pinkett's eyes, she couldn't believe it. She was nearly eaten in a few seconds. Saya then launches herself at Tayuya and cries into her shirt. Most people would find themselves trying to comfort her, but Tayuya wasn't your average person. With an annoyed look on her face, she turns behind her and sees no one behind the two of them. Shit, thought Tayuya. Seeing no one around, she decided to let the girl let it all out. Suddenly her group and Takashi and Rei storm in the room. Takashi stares at Naruto and Tayuya with a shock. Naruto-senpai, Tayuya-senpai, and Busujima-senpai. Exclaimed the shocked teen. Thank you guys, says the nervous Kota. He smiles gratefully at Naruto and Tayuya. He doesn't even want to think what would happen if they weren't here. While Shizuka was handling the shocked Saya, Tayuya Seiko then turns to Takashi. You know Nurse Marikawa, Uzumaki, and Kyoryushima from the student council, don't you? I'm Busujima Seiko, senor, Class A, says the brunette female. Kamuro Takashi, sophomore, Class B, says Takashi. Rei then turns to Seiko with a smile. You won the national tournament last year, didn't you? I'm Miyamoto Rei from Sojitsu Club, says the orange-haired teen. Ah, I'm Hirano K. Kutra from C Class B, stuttered the chubby teen. Seiko smiles at him. It's nice to meet you, says Seiko, causing Hirano to blush. What's with all you guys, acting so friendly, muttered Saya. What are you talking about, Takashi? Asked a confused Takashi. Stop being an idiot. I'm a genius. If we start acting like this, we'll lose next time. Yelled Saya. All right, I've heard enough, says Seiko, placing her hand on Saya's shoulder. The girl stares in shock as she is covered in blood. The group then got themselves together and barricaded themselves in the club room. Let's take a break, says Naruto. Shizuka lays her head on the desk while Seiko sits down and massages her shoulders. Takagi-san, are you all right? Asked Kutra. She turns to him, now wearing glasses. Ah, glasses. Exclaimed Kutra. The young gun enthusiastic blushes too. So what? My contacts have been in too long. Exclaimed Saya rather heatedly. Naruto takes a sip of water. Takashi turns to Naruto. Say, where would we go in those buses? Asked the brunette teen. Getting to our families take high priorities. Everyone's house is close by, and if their families need it, we should help them, too. After that we're heading to Shizuka's place. It's far safer than Tayuya's or my own, says the blonde. We're bound to find them eventually. The police and self-defense force is on the move, after all. If they handle this like they handle an earthquake, there should be someplace the people are being evaluated too. What's wrong? Asked Saya, turning to Rei. What's is this? Exclaimed Rei. What's up, Rei? Asked Takashi. She then turns the volume up while the others were watching the news in horror, as this infection of the undead wasn't just happening in Japan but everywhere around the world. Every state is on fire, mostly because no one knew how to handle such a horrible pandemic. Naruto and Tayuya look at the TV with suspicion. They knew this wasn't normal even though they are former soldiers of Konohagakure and Otogakure. The dead rising from the dead wasn't normal. Sure, Orochimaru could use the reanimation technique, but that didn't bring them back as a walking corpse. Someone is obviously behind this, but why do this? Anyone knows this is a horrible idea, so why the hell play God? Thought Naruto. The blonde former Jinchuriki wished Shikamaru was here. He knew if anyone could find a cure it would be that lazy bastard. Tayuya then turns to Saya. We don't even know if they will rot, says Tayuya. Takashi turns to the redhead. What do you mean? Questioned Takashi. For one, they are walking corpses. So a cure is out of the question. This isn't going to die anytime soon, says Tayuya. She doubted things will ever go back to normal. After we check on our families, we'll have to agree on someplace to escape to. In any case, we won't survive if we act selfishly. We're a team. If we want to stay alive, we're going to have to act like one, says Naruto. Ray turns to Naruto. How are we going to get out? Asked Ray. Getting to the parking lot through the front entrance would be the quickest way, says Naruto as they stepped out of the room. Kutra shots two undead with his nail gun. We're finally leaving. Don't overdo it. Only fight if you have no way avoiding them. Just knocking them over is effective, too, says Seiko. Guys, they're only sensitive to sound. But they're strong enough to rip a door off its hinges. If they get you, you'll get eaten. Be careful, says Saya. Each of them who can fight nods their heads. Tayuya pulls her short sword. They hear the screams of people. They rush downstairs. Both Takashi, Seiko, and Ray quickly bashed the heads on them while Naruto and Tayuya cut their heads off. Thank why? Don't speak so loudly. Were any of you bitten? Questions Seiko. The black-haired girl shook her head negatively. No, we weren't. Says the girl rather fast. We're going to escape from the school. Do you want to come along? Asked Naruto. They just shook their heads. Both he and Takashi look and see the entrance is covered with the undead. Takashi gulps in nervousness. I don't want to do this, says Takashi. They can't see, so it'll be like you're hidden, whispers Saya. Well then Takagi, go out there and show us proof, comments Takashi, which quickly shuts up the teen. Show us your theory is correct, Takagi-kun. We won't be able to move quietly with a group this big. Inside the school, during the first attack, I couldn't find any consistency in their movements, says Seiko. Ray clutches the spear close to her. We won't be able to just run out the entrance, states Ray staring up at Seiko. I'll go, says Naruto. Everyone but Tayuya stares at him. It's obvious no one is going to. Everyone is too scared to. Besides, standing here talking about it won't solve anything, says Naruto. Plus, thanks to his training he could easily do this. Takashi then turns to him. If you're going then I'm too, says Takashi. Nah, it'll be better if I go alone, Dadbao, grinned Naruto. Everyone stares at him with concern. He then steady holds both blades. Every lesson that Genma and Hayate ever taught him stayed with. A true shinobi strikes when the time is right, thought Naruto as he walks by each of them. He carefully opens the door one by one. Each of them makes it through the door. Unfortunately, one of the students' weapons hits the door. Everyone quickly runs for it. Unfortunately, not everyone was lucky. Takuzu wasn't fast enough as he was torn apart and eaten. His girlfriend quickly rushes to him, joining him in the afterlife. I can understand where she's coming from. If the rest of the world is this bad, maybe it'd be better to die, says Shizuka. Both Ray and Saya look at her with shock. Tayuya looked at her with anger. You stupid bitch, yells Tayuya. You call yourself a nurse, exclaimed Saya. Look out, yells Kutra as he quickly steps in between her and shots a female undead. He then turns to her. Please stay calm, Takagi-san, warned Kutra. You stupid tub of lard. What makes you think you can just interrupt me? Yells Saya. When you're done talking, do you think you could tell me whether you'd consider going out with me? Asked a very sweaty and nervous Kutra. You two must be close, I'm envious, says Seiko, causing Saya's cheeks to turn red as her hair. We'll shoot these. Go, ordered Tayuya. Everyone quickly gets on the bus. Seiko turns to Naruto. Uzumaki-san, everyone's on, says Seiko. Naruto nods his head. Alright, we're all set, states Naruto. Shizuka nods her head. Ah, this isn't the same as my car. ABC, 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 mutters the young nurse. Take that, exclaimed a student. Both Takashi and Rei open the door and see Shido and a few other students trying to outrun the horde of undead. Who's that? Asked Takashi. Shido from Class 3A, says Seiko upon hearing the name. Rei scowls. We're ready to go, exclaimed Shizuka. Naruto nods his head. Hold on just a minute, exclaimed Takashi. They're coming from the front, too. If we wait much longer we won't be able to leave, warns Shizuka. Can't we just run them over? Asked Takashi. Would everyone be able to fit in here safely? Wondered Saya. Just before Takashi can even run out, Rei holds him back. We're not going to save him, yells Rei. He glares back at her. Rei, what the hell are you saying? Yells Takashi. We shouldn't save him. That kind of person is better off dead, yells Rei. While the two were having their lovers' spat, they watch as Shido kicked a student in the face, leaving at the mercy of the undead. Even as he gets on the bus, they glare at him. You saved us. Is Busujima-san or Uzumaki-san the one in charge? Asked Shido. Seiko turns to silver-tongued man. We don't have anyone like that. We relied on each other to escape, says Seiko. Somehow this made the man grin in the same way Orochimaru did. In order to survive, a leader is absolutely necessary. The reason is obvious. A leader must protect the order, says Shido in a alley manner. As Naruto sits down, Tayuya glares at Takashi. You're a dumbass. You'll regret this, face, hissed Tayuya in anger. She then seats next to her boyfriend. She then turns to Yuki, who was sitting in front of them. She noticed she seems to have fallen asleep. Sometime after escaping the school, they are driving down the street. They ran over an undead. Like I've been saying, it's dangerous to drive like this. Why do we have to be with you guys? You all decided on where to go without considering us. Wouldn't it have been better to just find someplace we could hide out at, in the dorms or in the school? Yells Sonoda. He's right. You know, we're only putting ourselves in more danger by driving this way. We should stop somewhere. There was a convenience store just a little ways back. Yells the teen. The bus comes to a stop as undead fall from a helicopter. Can't you drive slower? That's enough. Lay off of me. I've never driven one of these before, yells Shizuka. Sonoda glares at Naruto, who pays no attention to him. I hate this bastard, yells Sonoda. But Naruto pays no mind to him. He just stares at the infested streets, and throwing a tantrum is going to do what? Questioned Naruto. He tries to run at Naruto, but Rei knocks the air out of him with her weapon. Yuki smiles at this. You're horrible, comments Yuki. Tayuya grins at Rei. What a sight. Kamuro-kun, Moto-san, it's wonderful to see such a great teamwork. However, to keep fights like this from breaking out, I think we should try a little idea I had. What we need is a leader, Tayuya-chan, says Naruto. About time, says Tayuya. She takes a shotgun and literally blows his face off. Everyone stares at her in shock and horror. Ah, finally, I've been wanting to do that since I first saw the, exclaimed Tayuya. Naruto then rise from his seat. Now that the damn pedophile is out of the way, here's the deal. Tayuya-chan and I are in charge. We decide where to go. But of course, if you don't like where we going, there's the door, says Naruto. But you can't, exclaimed the scared black-haired teen. That's funny. Last time I check, it's my group that got the bus, and second, we have swords and guns. And you idiots don't have anything. Now here's what's going to happen. You're going to either shut up and stop acting like a bunch of children, or you can end up like this piece shit, says Naruto. Miura, Kurokami, and Sonoda lift the bus, not wanting to test. After Naruto drags the body off the bus, Kyoko then decided to take the wheel since Shizuka is shaken up. Tayuya's phone begins to ring. Dad, exclaimed Tayuya.